All right, thank you for everyone for coming out to our August 26th, 2025 public work session. At this time, I will call the public work session to order.
We're going to start our public work session. We're going to start it off with our Blue Ribbon Plan proposal to our school district. So Mr. Giannessi and his team can come up and start that off. It'd be great. Performance Services tonight is going to go through their facility assessment that they've been working on in our school district for the previous 6 months. So we look forward to hearing from you. And Mr. Giannessi, I'm going to have you take it away.
Good evening, President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff, members of the community. I'm pleased to be able to introduce Performance Services and the group that has been working on the facility assessment for several months now. I can tell you that with our review, it is an outstanding assessment. I hope you find as much value in it as we do. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tony Kuykendall, and he can introduce the remainder of his staff.
Thank you, Mr. Giannessi. And yes, you have another Tony. I apologize for that, but it's a pleasure to be here tonight. And so to the members of the board, definitely want to kind of share with you all, about 5 months ago, Elkhart Community Schools engaged with our company, Performance Services, to conduct a district-wide physical conditions assessment of all your buildings. We're here tonight to really share a summary of what that effort was. And I've just brought this up just for a visual because that resulted in about 1,000 pages of a report going through all your facilities, 2 different binders. Chris, I'm going to hand this back to you. Actually, we don't need to. We're just going to provide a summary of this tonight.
Thank you.
Point being, there's a lot of great information that your operational team is going to be able to utilize. And really what this is going to provide ECS is a very clear and a very proactive plan to help you manage your facilities from an operational and maintenance perspective. So my name is Tony Kuykendall. I'm the business development manager with Performance Services. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to cover the following items. We'll share a little bit about who is Performance Services and why were we qualified to conduct this assessment for your district. We'll introduce the assessment team who worked on this over the last several months. We'll really review the purpose of the assessment and how your district plans to use this information going forward. We'll share our key findings throughout the district, and really most importantly, kind of share with you what we've prepared, which is a strategic plan to help the district look at the next 10, the next 20 years of how you operate and maintain all of your facilities. And then we'll just end with discussing some next steps. And being a work session, Dr. Huff, I don't know if this is okay. I have no problem. If there are questions along the way, feel free to interject. But once again, we're going to try to keep it at 30 minutes to make sure there is some time at the end. So you all as a board have an opportunity to ask our team questions. So first things first, just a little background on Performance Services. We were founded 27 years ago, and we're founded right here in Indiana. And during that time, we've completed thousands of assessments. We've completed a little more than 800 projects for school corporations with a total project value of a little over $3.7 billion. I just share that with you from a standpoint of this isn't our first time doing this. This is kind of who we are as a company, kind of at our core, is kind of serving K through 12 public schools. And really during the 19 years that I've been with the company, we were just in Indiana. We are now in 19 states. So we are growing, we continue to grow. I was employee 35, now we're approaching almost 350. With that being said, most of our business is still here in Indiana. Most of our employees still reside here, and most of our projects are still here. We're the largest branch in the company. Performance Services is comprised of professional architects, engineers, designers, consultants, project managers, all under the same roof, offering really a full array of services for school districts. And then lastly, I do want to share too, we have past experience of working with Elkhart Community Schools. So we've been able to work with Mr. Giannessi here for, I've been told that's a little more than 10 years now. with our engineers. And most recently, we were able to actually complete some work for you all over at Mary Daly at Westside Middle School and the high school most recently. Very important. I definitely want to make sure I kind of introduce the team members that are here today. For time purposes, I'll kind of point to them. Maybe starting in the back here is Chris Garrity. If you don't mind raising your hand, Chris. He is our principal architect, kind of our lead architect on this assessment. Right in front of him is Dale Basel. He's our national engineering supervisor. And next to Dale is Kevin Baum, who is our project development engineer. These individuals, plus a few others, were absolutely key in kind of preparing and reviewing all this information for the district. But as you can kind of see on the screen here, it really took a large team. You have a lot of facilities, you have a large footprint. So we kind of did the divide and conquer approach, and Chris is going to walk you through how we evaluated all those buildings and really kind of prepared this analysis. I do want to say special thanks to Mr. Giannessi, his operations and maintenance team. They spent tons of hours. So it wasn't just us. There was definitely investment on the school side as well. But I think you're going to find out as you look through this information, it really paid off. So thank you. Appreciate that. All right. So the purpose of the assessment, kind of getting to why are we here? The question is, why was this assessment needed? The district has completed assessments in the past. Some of those assessments may not have had all the information that was needed. They may not have been as comprehensive as this particular assessment. So we've pulled together, and the purpose of this was to really just determine the current facility conditions as we stand here today, as we're sharing this information tonight, to really evaluate and understand the current and the future needs in regards to infrastructure at all your facilities. And most importantly, develop an actionable facility strategic plan so that the district has a vision and is pointed in the right direction. Priorities will change year to year, but in general, you have a strategic plan to help kind of maintain and update your facilities. And we definitely want to do this in support of the Blue Ribbon Campaign as well. So definitely want to commend the members of the board for pursuing that. That is not an easy accomplishment. Anything we can do to help support you, we're happy to do that in that pursuit. All right. Last but not least, Chris, I'm gonna turn this over to Chris Garrity, kind of our lead architect. He'll walk you through the key findings as well as the building by building assessment, which I see some of you looking at in front of you as well, and he'll explain what that information is. The floor is yours, Chris.
Thanks, Tony. All right. Good evening, everybody. Can be a little taller. So looking across your district, we wanted to put together some key findings, some themes that came across everywhere. In general, your buildings are in really good shape. Your staff is doing an amazing job maintaining what they have. There's nothing that we saw that was necessarily an issue that should be addressed through your maintenance staff. Most of what we saw was age. And that really starts with your interior finishes. Some of it's worn, dated, but really at the end of its life expectancy. We're using manufacturer standard life expectancy as well as you can walk you through, and you can see where people have walked over the last 10, 20, 30 years. So a lot of your finishes, your staff's doing an amazing job trying to maintain what they currently have. There just hasn't been in many of your facilities a large investments. Accessibility issues and security. We do know that you have done a security project the last couple of years. It was a great investment into your facilities. So nothing we saw there was necessarily negative. Those were great investments to your buildings. There is still accessibility issues, so ADA accessibility issues, mostly in your restrooms. So handicapped students, some of the facilities aren't up to standard on that. Fire suppression systems, as well as playground accessibility. So again, you're doing great investments when you are able to. There's just still some work that needs to happen, or we recommend still happens. Site and building envelopes, that's really everything outside your building. That's your parking lots. Driving through your district, there's some that are in need of some replacement or repair. Sidewalks, roofs. I know Tony does a really amazing job maintaining your roofs and has a roof replacement plan. We recommend you just continue working through that plan, as well as windows. So there's some original windows from your 1960s throughout your district that single pane, they're not energy, they're not very good energy use as well as acoustics. And then your mechanical, electrical, plumbing infrastructure. This is everything behind the walls that as an architect, I don't really have to worry about, but our two engineers over there spend a lot of time working on. Again, your staff is doing an amazing job maintaining what they have. It's just past its life expectancy. So an investment should be made, at least we recommend being made, to replace some of that stuff that just is too old to continue working. When you do replace it, it helps your building comfort, indoor learning environment, and there is energy savings opportunities as well associated with that, really because it's new equipment. But in general, across the district, that's what we've seen as some key findings. All right. So one of the things, and everyone sees the 11 by 17 in front of you, we do want to be able to compare buildings to really show different areas and some of the ones that are in greater need. One thing to put together a big list of everything, but it's really important to start to strategize how to address it. So we've developed this scoring matrix. We use ASHRAE standards for as far as energy consumption, as well as age of equipment, manufacturers, standard life expectancies, ADA accessibility, and code issues. So all of that's come together to create the standard. There's about 75 different items that we look at, and you have in your binder Eastwood as an example as well. So you can kind of see all the components that go into it. When we take all of those numbers, we roll them up, we weight them all to create a score. Unfortunately, you probably can't expect every building to be 100% because 100% in our world means it's a brand new building. So scoring 100 is really difficult. The way we start to think about it is somewhere in the like new condition, you probably don't have anything that you need to touch. So that's anywhere between the 80 and 100. When you get down into the 70s, it's above average. There may be one or two things to start considering, but in general, those buildings are still in really good shape. In the 50s and 60s, that's when you want to start looking at, hey, we probably need to do some investment to this building. There's things that, again, life expectancy of materials, equipment in there. We probably need to start looking at some investments in that area, the 50 to 60 range. Anything below 50, there's some major issues that we probably should start considering earlier rather than later on those. And we're going to start going building, or I guess area by area. So we're going to start with the high school and the high school support facilities. You see there, the high school scores about 62. Freshman Center is a little lower at 55. And then you can see the rest of the buildings as they go out there. So you can tell most of these buildings are in need of some major investments. You have done investments to those facilities and they turned out great. Unfortunately, they're just big buildings. So, you know, you do a third of the carpet in a building, or you renovate some of the spaces in the high school. Well, the rest of the building hasn't been touched. So that's where you see some of those scores. We did take into account the work that you've done. And again, stuff we've seen has been a great. We do commend your team on that. So just looking at across the board, though, there are still some issues of concern.
Sure. Question. A number of these are kind of self-explanatory, but obviously safety and security is paramount within the district.
Definitely.
So just out of curiosity, what do you look for when you enter a building and when you start rating for safety and security?
Yes, definitely. Very good question. Safety and security, we've got, and I'll just going to read them off to you, but I'll kind of pull some of the ones that are most important. Traffic patterns and parking. We want to make sure that there's a separation of cars and buses. Secure entry vestibules. I know your last project did every building with secure entry vestibules except the Freshman Center, so that one scores a little less. But making sure that there's secure vestibules, cameras, room identification, general signage around the building. If we noticed any code issues, so Rice Field scores a little lower with the accessibility because there's no way to get to the upper floors with accessibility. Fire suppression systems. While they may not be required, we did want to identify the buildings that don't have them or does not have full suppression systems, emergency lighting, and then just some general other lights and security. So even a low score does not mean it's unsafe. It's just looking at it holistically. If you're building a brand new building, what all would you want into it? Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. But again, you can see here on the high school ones, most, again, the safety and securities are in the 70s, or in the upper 70s with the exception of the Freshman Center. and some of the career center ones, those are scoring pretty good. Those are saying, hey, you've made the right investments to it. There may be a few items here that aren't necessarily up to a brand new building, but those are in decent shape. We always like to look at geographically. High schools are really all clumped together, so we can't necessarily make any big differences there, but looking at where those are and then their scores associated with that. Looking at your middle schools, they have not received as much of an investment recently, so their numbers are a little bit lower. A lot of those are in interior finishes, just based on the age of your buildings, as well as the site work. Specifically North Side, they have a lot of asphalt needs, a lot of parking lot needs at that facility. But those are some of the key ones that are bringing some of those scores down. Again, we're not expecting 100% on all of those, but those are some of the ones that have jumped out as some major concerns.
A question.
Sure.
Does this take into consideration the work that we've been doing at the 3 middle schools in the last few months? Or
It takes into
before
account.
that?
We walked it before. We're able to incorporate some of that. I'm not going to be promised that we caught all of it, but we know you did the restrooms, so those should be incorporated into it. A lot of finishes are incorporated into it, so we did try to pull in all of the work that has been happening the last couple months. Again, we applaud those projects. They've turned out really nice, but they're also sometimes piecemeal. So yes, you were able to invest in these restrooms. Maybe there's not all of them that got done as well.
Thank you.
Yep. Then again, we looked at them geographically as far as how they compare with the scores. And then the one that has probably the most breadth, obviously, because it's your most number of buildings, is your elementary schools. And you see a wide range of that. A lot of that is age of your facility, age of your building, and when was the last time you had, as a school, spent some significant dollars in those. So the ones that have received some works, Monger and Daly, those numbers rise higher because they've obviously had a lot of work done to those. Some that have not had as much work will start to fall to the bottom where there are investments that are needed. And then the next one, this one we saw some value in also looking at it geographically. So where are the ones that are higher scoring and where are the ones that have some needs? Yes, sir.
With the scoring, I know that it seems like this is an equal distribution in the scoring, but is there something that you believe maybe weighted more, like our interior finishes weighted more than safety and security or infrastructure and systems? How would you, if we want to attack some area, where would you tell us to begin?
Good question. So we do weight building infrastructure systems pretty high because that is one it's not easy to maintain. It's something that you do need to put some investments in. One of the issues with this, and not really a good way to fix it, is you can tackle one issue really well. That becomes a 5 or it becomes a 4. The number still may skew low because it's only one of the whole piece. This is just trying to really, the goal of this is to compare, but building infrastructure is weighted a little higher than anything else of these facilities. Okay.
Is there? I know they're weighted.
Yep.
But if we were trying to achieve a 70% above
Sure.
average in each building,
Yep.
and we're looking at for the site portion of it, is it in the 2 binders you had? Is there a way to look at that data, dig a little deeper, and say, if we did this, we would no longer be at a 52%, but we can we're at a 60. So
in our binder, we do identify, the locations of concern. So I think it's Woodlands, the back parking lot, the hard surface play area has a lot of issues. So we've identified that, and that's part of the reason why that one scores so low is some of those areas that jump up to the top. Same thing. Again, I'm going to pick on Woodlands just because that was the last one I walked through. You've got some single pane windows in the original part of the building. That window score gets low because of that. So if you replace, 15 windows, 16 windows, that number can jump up really quickly. Yep. Thank you. All right. I know we talked a lot about some of the issues that you have. We do want to celebrate the work that you've done because that it does really transform your facilities. So we did put some pictures up there from during a walkthrough, and we do want to celebrate the work that was done, because I think that is something very commendable to the district. And I'm hoping your students also see value in it as well. But we do want to share some of the examples that we've seen that are causing some of those issues. I used the Woodland example of the hard surface play on the upper right. You do have a lot of restrooms that are unfortunately still not ADA accessible. You've got some exterior envelope issues that should be addressed, some chalkboards in some of your facilities as well. Again, your maintenance staff is doing a good job maintaining it. It's just an investment has not been able to be made to these buildings in a while.
On this one, you're talking at the Roosevelt. On mine, it says Roosevelt. I think you handed me this on Friday. You probably made some edits since then. Talk to me about what are you seeing in that typical classroom at that picture on the bottom left?
Yeah, so some of it is dated finishes. I think we wanted to kind of get a feel of what your typical classroom looks like. This one's probably not scoring too low. It's probably that mid-tier, maybe the mid-70s. It's got roll carpet, so similar to in here, if some kid has a stain on it, so they had lunch, snack, something spills, you can't get it out. We recommend carpet tiles. Those can pop in and out. I don't believe that one has LED lighting in it. It does not. So LED lighting is also in there. Just kind of a dated feel that we would recommend some upgrades to it. But that one would probably score lower than some of your HVAC equipment that is older. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Dale to talk about HVAC equipment.
Thanks, Chris. Now we get into the really glamorous stuff.
Right.
Things that you never see when you walk into a building. But you've got equipment that is original from 1970 and later or earlier over at the Freshman Academy. But your staff has done a great job in maintaining this equipment and getting many years past its normal life. Like the air handling units, they're normally you get 25 years out of that per ASHRAE, which is the American Standard or American Society of Heating and Air Conditioning engineers, and they kind of benchmark ages of equipment. And so, that's 25 years, and that's a 55-year-old air handling unit there in the top, and the one in the bottom is 39 years old. So you've gotten your money worth out of those.
Explain to our community what those pieces of machinery do for our
Sure.
schools.
So air handling units bring in ventilation air and distribute hot and cold air to the classrooms or gymnasiums or whatever space. But, they're very important in maintaining a optimal learning environment for the students with the proper outside air and temperatures. So, students we found do much better learning when they've got that optimal learning environment. The control side over there, that's pneumatics. Most controls today are digital with electric actuation. So there, if you get an air leak, you can overheat a room very quickly, and you have no feedback as far as what the temperature is in the space, so you can't troubleshoot it from a computer. You have to rely on somebody to call you and tell you that they have a problem. So we also looked at the energy usage in your facilities. Right now, the high school, career center, and freshman center, they're a little higher than we would like. But a lot of that has to do with the age of the equipment and not your staff. I mean, Todd, your energy manager, has done a great job in trying to, get all the energy dollars out of these buildings. And so, North Side and West Side are great examples where he's done a great job on those. But he just doesn't have the equipment in the high school and the freshman center to get to those same dollar amounts. Same way in the elementary schools. If you look at the red ones, Woodland still has a lot of electric heat. Electricity is very expensive to heat a building with, so your buildings that do better have your higher efficiency boilers and are gas heated. You've spent quite a bit of money at Mary Daler and Monger on, recent projects, which have, greatly improved the energy efficiency in those buildings. But the other ones have a ways to go still, but it mostly is equipment, not operation. So,
Can you go deeper into what's happening at Roosevelt and at Mary Fuser as well?
sure. Roosevelt has a pyramid basically on the media center that's built out of, it's called cow wall, but it's basically glass. And so it has a less insulation up there than most of your other spaces. And so it gets very hot in there. And it also, loses a lot of heat in the winter time. So it's expensive to heat and cool that space. So that's probably the big one there. Mary Fieser's got just older boilers and older air handling units. And so a lot of it's constant speed, constant volume units, where today, you would go in, you would have variable speed, higher efficiency motors, high efficiency boilers. So you just don't have those investments in those buildings yet.
Thank you very much.
So Hawthorne will be 100 years old in 2028, but it scores quite favorably on your chart here. Can you explain that?
Hawthorne for this last year really wasn't fully occupied. So that has a big factor in its energy efficiency, just because there weren't students there and bringing in the outside air. So a lot of the systems have been shut down. So it's kind of not fully utilized like your other buildings are. So energy wise, Todd's just turned off a lot of things that aren't needed. So once again, trying to save all those energy dollars possible. Because those numbers are all based on square footage, not necessarily number of students or anything like that. So that's just the way we benchmark them. And I'll turn it back over to Tony.
All right, so we're rounding third here, but I wanted you to hear from our architects and from our engineers who had they spent the time in the buildings with your staff and those key findings. And really the second part of our assessment here is really trying to assign some level of a cost estimate or a budget of, well, where do we go? How do we address some of these issues? And if and when do we address some of those issues? So I'll just start with this particular slide here. As many of you guys know, just like owning a car or just like owning a home, there's going to be some level of investment to kind of, provide the proper upkeep and maintenance of that asset. The district is no different than that. Your buildings are no different than that, other than the fact that you have more than 30 of them, and they're valued at more than $1 billion. There's a lot of value there. So when you look at the APPA, American Physical Plan Association, a general rule of thumb is about 2% of that building value. I'm not here to say that it's the right number or the wrong number, but there is a level of investment, and that's kind of what our facility strategic plan is here to kind of help tackle.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
$1 billion, is that just buildings alone? Does that include land, property?
I don't know that. I actually don't know that answer. That was provided by Policy Analytics. So, I'm sorry. Go right here.
I'm just going to chime in.
Help me, Tom.
So the $1.1 billion is the replacement value of all of our physical buildings. It does not include the land.
And if you include the land, what's the value of the land?
I can't give you a firm answer. It depends on where. So for instance, our farm, that land has a different value than the land that sits here. So we have 151 acres on this campus. So the value of this is going to be different because this is actually considered manufacturing. So if we were to look at the value of this land, it's going to be very different than agricultural. So I can't give you an exact answer. Most of our schools sit within a residential area. The city of Elkhart has a very unique zoning setup where there is not a zone for education. So none of our buildings sit on an E zoned area. They all sit in residential or manufacturing or even agriculture. So every time we do a new project, we have to go before the Board of Zoning Appeals and the Plan Commission and request a variance, special exceptions to actually build on this land because it's not considered educational. So the short answer is it varies by the type of land we're sitting on. Absolutely.
Since you've been here with this, seeing this 2% that we should be reinvesting in our schools, you've been here for a while. Have we followed this to make sure that our buildings have been up to, I don't want to say code, but make sure that they are ready for use for our kids and make sure they're lasting over time?
Generally speaking, no, we have not.
Can you elaborate?
So we have somewhere between $5 and $6 million a year that's set aside in capital projects for various projects in the buildings, which typically are carpet, paint, sometimes security measures, but rarely does that come close to covering any big projects such as the boilers, the chillers, the air handlers, the roofing projects. So we do all the small projects. Many of those are based upon principal requests, such as, hey, we need new carpet in this area of the building. Can we do that? And then we've done from time to time up to 3 bonds a year. Now, this current process or current time period we're in is very unique. In my time here, we actually have 8 different bonds that are in process that total of $47.5 million worth of construction. There's some other dollars allocated in a couple of those bonds. One is for bus replacement, one is for curriculum. But in general, 8 bonds, 4 of them are general obligation bonds, which in the past we did not have the capacity to have general obligation bonds. Those allow us to borrow money without tying it to a specific building, where the lease rental bonds do exactly that. They tie us to a specific building. So health and strength, for instance, is a bond that now is weighted, so to speak, against the high school, but general obligation bonds are just against the district. So like I said, we have more now than we've ever had since I've been here in terms of the bonds. We've done up to 20 million a year before, but it's usually been in a bond, in a lease rental bond, where we've done a major number of projects. For instance, Diesel Tech and ETI, the high school phases 1 and phase 2, the Career Center, and the freshman division, formerly Central, were all done in a time period of roughly 3 to 4 years. And those were all a variety of bonds, and ETI was also private donations.
The reason why I asked that, when I look at the middle school scores, they're very close in their overall scores. I think 47, 52, and 50. So that would just tell me that there should have been some investment there, probably a little bit sooner.
Absolutely.
And so I'm glad that we actually are trying to tackle some of that this year, but I know that that's only a small dent into getting them up to where they need to be. But I just wanted to tell you thanks for giving that little bit of backup insight on that number, which is eye-opening, but I know that we haven't really been doing that, correct?
We have not.
Okay.
Certainly not on a regular basis.
Thank you, sir.
You have a massive Excel spreadsheet that shows how you go through building by building, going into the future and stuff like that, and the money that you would like to spend. Have you shared that with these gentlemen?
Yes, absolutely. So we had the 2014 study that was done by Fidelis, and I was able to provide that to them to use. And then we had the 2022-23 Site Logic study, which I also was able to provide. So they were able to take that information, see especially where there were the shortcomings in that. And this is the most comprehensive long-range facility plan that I've seen since I've been here. And they were able to use that to create what you will only see a small snippet of, but it's available beyond tonight, of course.
I was talking about your Excel spreadsheet.
I do, but I use.
It's a very comprehensive, it's very, a lot of information on it. So my question would be, it's like, okay, well, with the experts here, so, okay, well, if we go back and look at what we were doing, we had X amount of dollars to spend. Okay, the areas that we spent them in, how did we maybe miss the mark of where we should have been? And maybe we didn't, I don't know. But what I was saying is like that, I always, look at the Excel spreadsheet to be the holy grail. All right. And that, how they're going to spend money and touch these buildings and keep them semi-current as best we could with the money we have available. Okay. And so I think that might want to share that with the gentleman and see what you can do with it.
Well, I could provide some additional information if you'd like. So since 2018, we've completed over $122 million in construction. Of that, not quite half has been what we would refer to as maintenance, as preventative measure. The other half was placed into new construction around this campus predominantly. So the decisions were made back in 2016 with the strategic plan and the merger to place our dollars in multiple locations. And so we did that by creating this campus in the way that we've created it, and by also attending to some of the measures. So $60 million is a great investment in preventative maintenance, but over 7 years, it's obviously not $20 million a year. You're welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. I will jump to this next slide here, which not intended for everyone to necessarily read everything off the screen here. I get that. I know how PowerPoints are supposed to work, but I did want to provide this spreadsheet. This is essentially like the culmination of the entire study. So this provides a summary by building, and it also provides kind of the outlook as we look, over the next 10 to 20 years. So the information that we have provided to the district, it's a nice Excel sheet, but it's the live copy. You can edit this. Every one of these buildings has a separate tab, has all of the background information behind it. This is just rolled up. So in a snapshot, if you wanted to bring every one of these buildings that we kind of talked about tonight up to 21st century learning standards, which is impossible because no school district can do that. But that's why when you see in that column right there, and I'm going to point out the $358 million number, that's every building. That's doing every recommended improvement all at one time. And that's not what we're recommending. That's why there's a 20-year plan in place. The other number I will point out on the far bottom right is $513 million. And you go, well, how did it go from 350 to 513? When we look out every single year, there's always escalation. There's some type of inflationary rate. So we have included 5%. We don't know what that's going to be in the future, but general rule of thumb with construction, somewhere between 5 and 6%. I just want to make sure when you see these big numbers, right, the time value of money, things will be more expensive 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road.
So that's reflective of a 5% increase every 5 years
Annually.
annually. Okay.
And as we've all been through interesting time periods over the last, 5 to 7 years with COVID and everything else. There's different rates every single year, so it's hard to predict. But that's a good kind of rule of thumb construction-wise that we've utilized. Years 1 through 4 on this particular roll-up are broken out just to provide more clarity in the short term of, I'll say, Mr. Scott, Mr. Weaver, the questions you guys were asking about, like, well, where do we go? Where does our compass point us? And what's that spreadsheet look like? Where are those priorities? We've tried to break those out in some of the shorter term, but we also know as you go from year to year, priorities will change, right? What's the next curveball that we're unaware of? So this is meant to be a living document. Whatever the wishes of the board are at some point to move forward and make improvements, this will be updated and it'll be managed going forward each and every year for the district. So one of the other things too, so looking at more of the short term, we were also asked to create types of project packages that could be designed, developed, and considered. This is not for right now, but for the summer of 2026. So essentially kind of taking that, kind of that first step with the plan of what can we do. And we had about 7 or 8 different packages that we have shared with your team here. These 3 kind of rose to the top, and the reasons that these rose to the top, when you look at the actual infrastructure, these particular buildings have the oldest equipment and infrastructure in the district. And you heard a little bit from Dale about you guys are doing a great job of keeping them running, but we also know they're a piece of equipment. Sometimes you just have to you got to replace them and have a restart. It's not just infrastructure in these 2. So these project packages at the high school, career center, freshman center, these will also include some of those finishes as well. So we know too, when we do projects, it's not only important to make sure that the building is reliable infrastructure and energy efficient, but it needs to look nice. It needs to have the right technology. It needs to have the right look and feel for your staff and for your students. So this is a high level summary of some of those projects. And this is the last slide. So when we look at kind of what those next steps might be for the school board and really for your administrative team, it's just really validating what those 2026 project priorities may be. As we're standing here today, this is kind of that time to plan for next year. Everything seems to take a little bit longer. Lead time on some of the materials and products are quite long. So based upon the wishes of the board, our next step would be, once we have those project priorities, our team would then actually take this and design it. We have to put everything into design drawings. We have to take it out, competitively price it. We then have to come back to you all with the final scope, firm price to actually move forward on a project. And the third piece for us, and just as important, is managing kind of that long-term strategic plan. Because while we may have a few things like in the near future that are like, these are top priorities, we have to make progress now, there are some things that we don't know just yet that need to go into that strategic plan. And then that would be up to both Elkhart Community Schools, school board, and our team to kind of collaborate on that every single year and make sure that those are realigned with the vision of the school board. So with that, that is our presentation. It's a high-level summary of a lot of information. I want to thank you for your time, for your attention. I know it's a lot of information to take at one time. We're happy to support you all in this initiative, and I'll pause here. So any questions that myself or the team can answer for you tonight?
I just want to say thank you very much for doing this. I think it's very helpful. I think, for me, it's like when you don't deal with projects that are this large, when you see numbers like this, it's kind of like an, oh my, how are we gonna structure this in our with our debt rate and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of leads me down the road. But this gives us a good kind of a template to work from. That is appreciated, to have the amount of detail that you guys have gone through to help us make the best decisions for our district. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And one, I also want to thank you. I had the privilege of sitting with you and your team last week, so I had a lot of inside information on this. So I believe this is very well done. I would put this presentation up against any one when it comes towards how you look at a school district. You've seen every inch of our school district, so I just want to tell you thank you. You mentioned before that this is a living document, right? So if I came back to you and said, hey, we have some shifting priorities, you would update that as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so just a little further on that. So you have the hard copies. There's certainly all electronic copies too. So you have the live version that can be edited, but we would love to kind of do that in collaboration with you.
Mm-hmm.
So as priorities shift or as priorities are needed, absolutely, we'll update the document.
I just think this is a great macro view of our school district. Some things that clearly a lot of us just didn't know that was happening in some of these spaces, but also lots to celebrate. Tony's team has done a wonderful job over the years of making sure that these things, these units have stayed up to code. But just seeing what would happen tomorrow if one of those units went down, how would that disrupt classroom learning and things like that. It kind of keeps me up at night after seeing it here. So can you give an example? How much would that cost at the high school to replace that unit that's 54 years old? I know it's in the.
So you kind of helped me out on this a little bit here, but one of the, and I'll just answer your question directly here, Dr. Huff, but one of those project packages that we had summarized at the high school, it really is over a 2-year phase to really address all of those air handlers that are that 55 or 54 years old. Each of those is about a $6.5 million project phase. So if you wanted it all done over the 2 phases, it's not exact right now, it's just budgeted, but then you're looking at about $12 to $13 million.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I too would like to say thanks to you and your team. This is very thorough information. It definitely gives us, some some things to work with as Ann says, we make decisions to better our district. So, I think that the biggest thing for me is looking at these threshold numbers, understanding what the thresholds are with regards to, average, good, critical, that sort of thing, where we can really invest the biggest chunks of money to really get back above the threshold. So I appreciate that.
Welcome.
Worked at tons of school districts. I'm just looking at our average scores. To me, they're very concerning, right? 57%, 56% on my district scores average 62, but I think that's artificially propped up. We have a brand new building at the ETI and Monger and Daly. When I see 47% on there, that's a significant investment for Northside Middle School. Have you worked with other school districts that have similar scores like us that are as large as us? And how did you help them to lead to improve those scores? I think to Mr. Scott's point, how do we get to, I don't expect the full answer here, but what type of work did you work alongside with them to improve in those areas? Because I think our kids deserve the best places to learn and to make sure these things last for a long time.
Sure. And I would say your district is not unique in this as far as in the scoring. This is maybe fortunately why we have the opportunity to kind of come in and provide some of the expertise on what is needed. We've worked with several different districts, large and small. And I would say to your point about seeing those numbers, these are the same kinds of numbers, the same levels of investments per building that we see throughout the state. And it's just you have a lot of those buildings kind of all at once. So
I was trying to get to like with the when you say 30 buildings, I think many of us don't realize we have that many buildings that are in our school community. I mean, we're a very large school district. It's just a lot to fix all at once. That's why I wanted a 20-year plan to that blue ribbon plan when I got here. And so thank you for doing that. But it's just a lot of buildings.
and this is that roadmap to help you kind of internalize and figure out what the right path is forward. And an important part of that is for you and for your community, there's different ways to fund projects and different strategies to do that too. So all of this can kind of be tailored based upon what's in the best interest of the district and your community. And we'll be there to help support you, every step of the way. But you're not unique. I don't want you to walk away from this going, oh my gosh, these facilities are not able to take great care of our kids. They are, but you're at that point where it's time to start taking those. We were trying to say, our team was saying, man, that's a lot of work, right? It's like taking a bite out of the elephant each time and kind of working through that strategic plan and taking great care of the assets that you have in place. All right. Thank you all for your time. Really appreciate it.
No data presentation from Dr. Roush.
You're good. Dr. Roush, floor is yours.
All right. President Scott, School Board of Trustees, Dr. Huff. All right. I am here to present the 2022-23, 23-24, and 24-25 three-year data for Elkhart Community Schools. I'd like to, of course, start off with our Elkhart Community School iRead 3 data. As many of you know, Dr. Huff traveled down to Indianapolis with Denise Demeter, literacy cadre coach at Eastwood, and presented in front of Dr. Katie Jenner, the state superintendent, and the state school board, where he presented the increase for Eastwood Elementary, increasing 23 percentage points, and Woodland increasing 21.5 percentage points. And as you can see here, we can proudly state that all of our elementary schools increased their iRead scores this past year. So I would just like to say congratulations to all the students, teachers, administrators, and staff that worked very hard to make this happen. And you probably see here with Woodland, the 21.5%, ours is 22, but I just wanted to state that our data team, that I want to say thank you for putting together all of the data in my presentation today. They do round to the nearest whole number. So if you notice that, that is the reason why. So, but again, hats off to everyone that worked very diligently to increase these iRead scores, and just hats off to teachers if you're here and if you're listening. Thank you, and students, thank you, and staff and administrators.
Dr. Roush?
Yeah.
it's okay to round. Technically, we had higher iRead
Yes.
scores and what is reported by the state. We would be at 84.2 if they counted the students who actually passed with us in second grade last year who have moved on to other school districts. They actually don't, they wait until third grade to calculate those scores. So I'm going to celebrate. We had 84.2% of our kids technically passed under Elkhart Community Schools Watch. Those other schools unfortunately benefited from our students from second grade passing. And this is just not an issue for Elkhart. This is for all large urban school districts. They face these same dilemmas with those scores, but very proud. So I just want to say it's okay to round up. We surpassed
Yes.
that anyway. So thank you, Dr. Roush.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to iLearn. So this past year, Elkhart Community Schools entered into the pilot for the iLearn checkpoints. There were 3 checkpoints that led up to the spring summative. And the data that I'll be presenting is just really very high level. Just know, though, that administrators and teachers, they definitely do more of a deep dive into our subgroups, but this is just keeping it high level. But as you can see here, our iLearn for English language arts for grades 3 through 8. As you can see, they all increased except for grade 7. Now we go into the individual elementary schools for iLearn grade 3. As you can see, for grade 3, 9 increased, 3 decreased, and 1 remained the same. Some highlights were Beardsley, Eastwood, Woodland. They made some significant increases. For ELA grade 4, 8 increased and 5 decreased, but highlights would be Beck, Bristol, Feeser, Monger, and Woodland. They all had significant increases. Grade 5, iLearn ELA, 10 increased, 2 decreased, and 1 remained the same. Some highlights would be Daly, Eastwood, Woodland. They made significant improvements.
Your review is above the state average, actually, when it comes towards iLearn for grade 5. So I just want to say shout out to them as well. 10% increase over 2 years is huge. I'm also looking at daily to go from 9%. That's a lot for iLearn. So I know you
Yes, yeah.
and then Eastwood to go 20% is unheard of. So hats off to their schools. Hats off to all of them.
iLearn grade 6, 7 increased, 4 decreased, and 2 remained the same. And some highlights again, Beardsley and Bristol made some significant improvements in their scores. As you can see on here, Elkhart Alternative, because you'll see this on some of the other slides, just to clarify that this is listed because it's considered an educating school, and the results of the students, they do go back to the home school for accountability. So we just need to make sure that we work closely with our PRIDE program to ensure that we get our students over the goal line. But I just wanted to explain the alternative, Elkhart Alternative on these slides.
Yep. Can I go
Oh,
back
sorry.
to that? That's all right. Co-presenting. We'll be
Yeah,
fine.
thank you.
I
I
also
appreciate
want
it.
to commend Beardsley to go from 6% to 17%. I know that may not appear to be a lot, but they also doubled their iRead scores over a two-year period as well. To go from 38% to 80% is clear intentionality. So, and I know that they had a first-year principal as well, first-year leadership team, and lots of teachers who put in lots of hard work last year at that school. So if any of them are watching, I wanted to say personally thank you to all of you. But that's great data that I just didn't want to glaze over. So hats off to that school as well.
Yep. Okay, moving on to iLearn Elementary Math. So here is our overall grades 3 through 8 for math. And actually all of our grades have increased in iLearn Math in grades 3 through 8.
That also needs to be talked about a little bit around the state. They were seeing different results when it came to math, correct?
Yes, they were lower.
Mhm. Yeah, it actually slid back a little bit. So I know that there's still lots and lots of work to do, but I feel like many of our teachers and staff did not have a common math curriculum. So we've adopted some things as well. So hopefully those things also will help to continue our growth in those areas. But again, I just wanted to say hats off to them for doing that without really a guaranteed viable curriculum. So hats off to all the teachers and to the leadership team.
Yes, and I will talk about this later, but math is going to be a focus for the Indiana Department of Education here in the next few years, like it was with literacy. And so, I think that, increasing our scores and doing more of a focus, and as Dr. Huff stated, at the middle school, adopting a math textbook is definitely going to help. Okay, moving on to all the individual schools for the elementary. In iLearn Math Grade 3, 9 increased and 4 decreased. Some highlights are Bristol, Daly, Monger, Roosevelt, and Woodland made significant increases. In grade 4, we had 8 schools increase and 5 decrease. Highlights would be, again, Beardsley, Beck, Bristol, Eastwood, Beezer, Roosevelt, and Woodland. So great job, grade 4. You showed quite a bit of increase. In grade 5, we had 8 schools increase, 4 decrease, and 1 remained the same. Eastwood and Oslo showed significant increases. And then in grade 6, we had 7 schools increase, 5 decrease, and 1 remained the same. And Oslo is the standout elementary for grade 6.
I'd like to stop right there.
Sure.
Bristol as well. Riverview ranks in the top 12% in the state of Indiana when it comes towards their IRE tour for a public school in a large district like ours. So their 6th grade teachers really knocked it out. That 63% is huge. That's proficiency. Hats off to them as well. When we're going through state data, I think they rank in the top. There's 1,000 schools that take this assessment, right? They're in the top 125. So I just want to say that very proud of those teachers there. They work hard. But
Yep.
Overall, very, very proud of the school district.
Okay, moving on now to middle school iLearn data for ELA. We had in grade 7, our Northside, Pierre Moran, and Westside, they all decreased in their iLearn ELA scores, but in grade 8, they all increased their scores. And then in math, Northside, grade 7, they increased. Pierre Moran, they increased by 8%, and Westside decreased 4% in 7th grade math. And then in grade 8, Northside grade 8 increased by 7%. Pierre Moran increased by 5%, and Westside remained the same. And again, administrators and teachers, they, after going through, and even us in central office, going through the checkpoints, this was all new for everybody, but now we have an understanding of how those checkpoints are given. And now we can really look and do more of a deep dive at the data. Last year, Dr. Huff started data meetings that we will continue to do with administrators. And that data then transfers to the teachers, that they look at this in their PLCs. And the data helps to inform instruction and interventions in the Indiana academic standards in math and English. We do still have, obviously, some room to improve. But again, I think with the new middle school math and the K-8 ELA adoption, we hope to see some increase in our iLearn scores. Okay, moving on to PSAT and SAT at Elkhart High School. So the PSAT is taken each fall in October with the 11th graders, and grade 11 PSAT scores from 23 to 24 to this past year improved by 4 points, from 842 to 846. In reading and writing, it went up 12 points, while math dropped 8 points. The PSAT is a good way to get some data so that as they go into the SAT, which is done the first week in March, and that score range is between 400 and 1,600 points. The SAT score went up last year by 7 points, from 858 to 865, and the state average was 939. In math, they remain consistent at 415, and reading and writing is increased by 9 points. So last year, there was a big push to, emphasize SAT and the importance. And this year, we replaced the K-12 district instructional coach with a district math coach. And again, as I said earlier, the DOE is really emphasizing math this year. So I believe having a middle school math curriculum, and then we're I believe now in our 6th year with our elementary math curriculum. So we'll be looking to potentially adopt math at elementary and then at the high school level for next year. I think all of that will definitely help. So. And then last but not least is AP data. As you can see here, the AP trend is definitely increasing with test takers, AP exams, and then how students scored 3 or higher. As you can see, obviously the exams, those are going to be students that take more than one exam, but we're increasing the number of students in AP. So hats off to Elkhart High School over the years for increasing AP. And I just want to note too that the high school offers 14 different AP courses. And I should have put that up there. I apologize. But we offer 2D art, 3D art, biology, calculus AB, calculus BC, computer science, English language and composition, English literature and composition, environmental science, music theory, physics 1, pre-calculus, statistics, and world history. So again, just a lot of good things happening in our district as far as increasing test scores, room for improvement, yes. But I think now, we all know that data is very important. Teachers, administrators, we're all looking at it and doing more of a deep dive into subgroups and really focusing in on reteaching and what needs to be done. So. But again, hats off to the teachers and administrators for all their work increasing our test scores.
Dr. Rush, may I ask a follow-up question? One, thank you
Sure.
for all the information you presented tonight. And Mr. Anderson, the former principal, don't try to hide. You can come up and help answer this too. Can we, to get a better picture of what's happening at the high school, is there a way that we can get the information that shows the number of kids who scored 3, 4s, and 5, so that way we can get a better breakdown?
Sure.
So can you provide that information to the board? That'd be very helpful.
I will do that. Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Question for you,
Yes.
Dr. Roush. I was just wondering, when I was going through and looking at the scores with elementary, there seemed to be in some grade levels, some really big jumps at some schools, and other schools had some big drops or more drops. It was just interesting, the dynamic.
Yes.
So have you guys had a chance to kind of do a deep dive into figuring out why some grades or some schools had such big jumps or decreases compared to others? Because it doesn't seem to be very consistent.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Sure.
And that was my question
Yeah.
as well. I saw,
So-
I think you referenced Cleveland had a 20%, and I saw some decreases, 22%.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
like that's an example, like Feezer had a 24% increase in grade 4. Grade 3, we had some 12% increases, but then we had some 14, 16% decreases in other schools. So I was just wondering kind of what's the dynamic? What's kind of going on there? Do we know yet? Have we done that deep dive to figure out what's happening in each of our schools?
Yep, great question. And the answer is not at this time, but this is something now that we have this data that we can now take into these data meetings and really look at that and see, why is that happening? So.
There's a couple assumptions, though, that we can make to kind of give the board. Across the district, we have schools that are title school and non-title school, so access to resources are very different at some of those schools. I don't know how much of that plays, but I know that does play a factor. We also, this year, we're very intentional about making sure that every school taught the same length of time. Mrs. Reese makes sure that the math blocks are consistent across the schools and the intervention times are consistent. I can't say for sure if that was the same last year. And also, I think To be honest, some schools have, at the elementary school, had more teachers with a little bit more experience in those areas as well. So we need to make sure our professional development meets the needs of our educators as well. So having Mrs. Cedarberg back there to make sure that she's rolling out the math proficiencies this year with our teachers and making sure that all those things are done and done well, I think you'll see much more consistency and a lot less variance in that when you're talking about how students progress along. I think with reading, you saw the jumps very consistently. Math, we did not. Also, I think how things are scheduled too, with schools starting at 7 o'clock in the morning. There were some schools where kids were missing a lot of their ELA block because of attendance. Teachers start teaching at 7:15, and it's really hard to reach kids if they're not there on time. So parents, if you're watching our exciting work session, we really would like for you to make sure our kids there on time, because we expect our kids to get full instructional periods. It's really hard to say, hey, we're going to delay our teaching until we know the most of our kids get here. So I think our teachers also have been very flexible as well. But this year we want to make sure we have common curriculum, common assessments as well. I think a cadence will also be helpful at the elementary level for as far as the pre-screening, to making sure that we are identifying students pretty early on what their deficits are and then getting them help pretty early. So last year, those were all systems that we were developing. Now this year, we can put them in the full effect. So I look forward to coming back next year at this time to give you a much more consistent growth amongst all of our schools. But I think those are all factors that I can just whip off the top of my head.
Very good.
She agrees.
Very good. But we will definitely do a definite deep dive into each grade level and find out as well.
The question, and this may be something that Mr. Anderson may need to answer because it concerns the AP. We've had a pretty significant gain of kids being successful. So are there specific things that our AP teachers are doing differently? Is there a specific courses that have higher success rates that kids are taking? Can you kind of give some more context to some of this?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. Hello, school board, President Scott, Dr. Huff, thank you for the opportunity. Big shout out, first year for AP pre-calculus, 100%, right? Passing score of 3 or higher. Obviously appreciate the 3, 4, 5 breakdown that we will give to you, later on. I think it's several fold in my answer here. We make it really important when we have new teachers teaching AP classes. We provide them the training. They go to the summer institutes. We work with Notre Dame, and to really get the training that's included. AP Tip-Ins, what it's called, it's based out of Notre Dame. We are also, how do I say this? We are recommending and strongly encouraging more of our students who can, that they are enrolled in these classes. They're not getting out of the classes. We're putting all the supports in that we need. And we have some really good teachers who are doing really good work with these students. We have a veteran staff now. Most of our teachers have been teaching the AP curriculum for quite a while. And they are doing, like I said, really, really good work. But I think it's really more about we're getting more kids. The jump, we're 57.5% of the kids now passing, huge jump. And I think we're getting the right kids with the right teachers, with the right support. And I just couldn't be more proud, but I really think that's the answer.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
no, thank you, Dr. Alsham. Any questions from the board?
Thank you. I appreciate the help.
I was just going
It's
to say
all a
for
team.
last year, for being over elementary and high school and secondary, you did a lot last year. Showed and learned. Just want to say thank you. The system that you helped put in place to rapidly move the needle could not have happened without you and the people that you work with. So I sometimes think that you like to be behind the scenes, but hopefully tonight we can share thank you for your leadership to be state recognized for the work that we're doing in elementary school. You played a critical role in that last year, working with teachers, all those late nights. It does have a payoff, and our kids win, and our district can change that narrative and change that story. And I think we're definitely on our way. So I just want to say thank you personally. You were a great right hand to me last year.
Thank you. And I just appreciate again that we are moving the needle in the right direction,
Yeah.
and that cannot be done without students, teachers, administrators, and staff. It's definitely a team effort. So I just can't say thank you enough. And thank you for your support.
Yeah, and to add on to that, not only did you do all of that last year, but she was able to go through all of our curriculum contracts
You did.
and save us a tremendous amount of money and put us right into a very wonderful situation as we had to come into new curriculum. So celebrating you again.
That was
Yeah.
a lot, and I
Said she wants to do it
probably will
again this
never
year.
do that again.
I
Probably, I know I will never do that again. So that was a little
she
too much
wants to do
to
that
take
again.
on.
Wait.
Yes.
But that was amazing.
Yeah, but I could
awesome.
put that on my
Yeah.
resume though, too.
Yeah, but we're keeping you, so why?
Work on.
Why? Wait,
how
I'm
to-
sorry,
how to-
whoa,
How to
whoa.
negotiate
Back it up there,
contracts.
lady. That, you can go ahead and try that, but we're
I
keeping you right
understand. I
here.
mean, well, I mean, it was definitely a golden hour type of opportunity that she's, that what she just said there, Dr. Roush. But again,
Yes.
Yeah,
again,
sure.
don't sell yourself short.
Ever.
Wonderful job getting our school district headed in the direction where, quite honestly, it needs to be. And we're only going to continue to soar from here. So
Yes.
thank you.
And again, thank you, teachers, for being patient as all of this is rolling in. It's just a lot that came in, and it's been a little bumpy, but that's okay. We'll get there, and it'll all be good. So thank you for your patience.
Thank you. All right, we'll adjourn the public works session and reconvene at 7 o'clock for our board meeting. Thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight to our August 26, 2025 Elkhart Community Schools School Board meeting. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Can you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Ivory, the Elkhart Promise.
Yes, sir. Every student is known by name, challenged and supported by highly effective staff, and in partnership with community will graduate career, college ready, and life ready.
Thank you, Mr. Ivory.
You're welcome.
Our invitation to speak protocol, everybody should have received one of these on your seat when you came in. There is a little form here you can detach, fill it out. Please give it to Dora. Any agenda or non-agenda item may be discussed during this time. When your name is called, please step up to the microphone, announce your name and relationship to the district. You'll then have 3 minutes to voice your public comment. As usual, any personnel or personal student issues, this is not the forum for that. Those issues should be taken to the building principal in order to not violate the Family Rights and Privacy Act. With that said, Dora? Thank you. Chris Bartley.
Now, Chris, your name shouldn't start with a B.
This is awkward because I was gonna like build off of what other.
I can mix it up, and here, I'll do it. Let me do it here.
Oh, you're gonna do it.
Chris Bartley.
Hi.
Good job.
Thank you. I am, as you know, sorry,
Bring
officially,
your microphone down.
There you go.
There you go.
Chris Thomas Bartley, teacher here in the district. I am usually here to celebrate. Today is a little different. I am glad, looking at the packet, some of the things that are coming back to the school, which we did not have, especially the IXL that has been in the past a really great resource as a teacher of students with disabilities, using that, helping them with credit recovery, getting that contract back is really important. It's a useful tool. I am here to talk about staffing at the high school in the special education department. We have, again, it's a positive, negative situation. We have had lots of new enrollments. That's a positive. The negative is we are short-staffed. We are short-staffed with certified staff. We are short-staffed with classified. There are significantly fewer classified parapositions to help with the mild disabilities population than we need. And when I say significantly less, off the top of my head, I believe I have one para who works with the mild disability students at the 1012 building with a caseload pushing 300 at the 1012 building. That means that teachers are escorting students to classes, those students who need that extra help to get to class. I cannot push in to classes like I would like because there's not enough of me, there's not enough of my colleagues to get to where we need. If we had more classified staff, that would certainly be helpful. I have colleagues in the general education population who, after many years, they count on me. They come to me. They ask me questions. They're like, I have a class of 30. I have 12 IEPs. I've got 8 ILPs. That's students with language needs. Can I get some support in here? I'm like, I love you. I'm already in 3 other places at that time. I have never transferred from one building to the other, so I am not sure. But my understanding is that for a classified staff, if they wanted to transfer from, say, the elementary to the secondary, somehow they change classifications and they lose their tenure. I'd like someone to please, I apologize. I'd like someone to please maybe look into if that is in fact a policy. And if it is, that should be something that could be changed, because I have talked to some of my friends who are elementary paras who would be like, well, I'd like to come to the high school, but I don't want to lose my seniority. I don't want to lose my pay. So I appreciate your attention to this matter. Thank you.
Chris.
I typically don't ever comment after public comment, but I just want to tell you, thank you for bringing, there's a lot of things that are down here. One of the things I do want to put out there, there's been no holds on any type, Mrs. Brainer, we put any holds on any type of paraprofessionals that they can't be hired at the high school. So I just want to let you know, there's not been any type of say, don't hire these individuals. So I will definitely look into those concerns regarding losing tenure. I will put it out there. There's some practices that have just been going on for like 20 to 30 years, or now we're at the headway where we're sometimes something that we did a long time ago are now starting to really bite us in the face now. And I'm pretty sure you know that too. So when this summer, when the federal government withheld $1.2 million from our school district, we had state money that was held back. We had things after school started. We had grants that were here and grants that were going away. We had additional costs that were added to the school district because they weren't supporting these positions. This is probably the most challenging budgeting year ever. Our district historically has never tied staffing to enrollment. We enrolled 3,000 kids in a little over 3.5 weeks. In the summer, we had to make some really tough choices. Like I hear like added pay is going to be one of these things that we're going to talk about today. Technically, you shouldn't really do added pay until after it's been signed and started. I know we've been having conversations with ETA about, hey, where we are with these processes, just to try to keep everyone with communication. So I just want to make sure that I am being super transparent about just how difficult this year has been with establishing the budget. And SCA 1 has been on top of that as well. So that's why we've been trying to make sure that we've had budget presentations. You probably saw the staff letter that went out to staff this week that had the financial piece of it this week. We are overspending, and it's been years of issues that we're trying to figure out in one. And I don't know. So I'm just telling you, I typically never say, I don't think I ever have actually, but the pay thing, it's going to be probably something that we need to all talk about. And some of the things that you just said are pretty good ideas. And I appreciate when people come up with solutions and actually come to places to get the accurate information. We have people spreading things on social media just to fan the flames. And these are our own employees. Come straight to the source. Speak to me, speak to a director, speak to a building principal, speak to you can speak to the board. But I'm seeing lots of misinformation or disinformation out on the internet. And I'm very disappointed on that. And I can't say anything else. And this is probably the most animated you'll ever see me. I'm pretty cool and calm and collected individual. And we have kids tonight that we're going to celebrate. So I just want to make sure that when we talk about these things that we are talking about, just like you did, you were very solution focused, and I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for responding. And I know you don't usually respond back in the public comments because it can get way out of control.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to clarify, if that is not a policy in terms of losing seniority or anything, then
Look into, Doug.
then
Is it a policy?
if it's a policy, I think we definitely need to be changed. I appreciate your response. You got something for me, Doug?
Yes, he does.
Slightly off script, but Mr.
Slightly
Thorne?
off script, but Chris, I appreciate you bringing this issue forward. I've been dealing with the compensation plan for our support staff now for over 20 years. I didn't have as much gray hair when I started this job. I have never heard that policy mentioned during my entire time with the district. So I'm surprised to hear people suggesting that policy exists out there. And so certainly if there are people who are in belief that that policy exists, that we would prohibit somebody from transferring from the elementary to the secondary, or from within various different classifications within the paraprofessional group. That's the first I have heard of that. Now, again, as Dr. Huff made note of, there are historic practices out there or perceptions of things that exist that we just need to make sure that we can communicate the facts related to those particular issues to address that type of a question. So I appreciate you bringing it up, almost more from the standpoint of being able to say, I've never heard of that before in 20 years of dealing with the policies in the district. So
Thank you, Mr. Thorne.
Thank you.
I will speak to the people I spoke to, get some more details, and I will,
Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you. And I will follow with you as well too,
Yes.
because I want to make sure if we're
Thank you.
saying things about our school district that are accurate, and none of the things that I'm ever going to do are going to be based on anything that's not rooted in truth and not rooted in our current situation. I'm embracing for this year to have lots of tough conversation. And one of the things, I got big shoulders and I work out, make sure that they're bigger. But I want to make sure that when we're talking about things, that it's coming from a place of not my perception, but this is the real truth that is out there. And who determines the truth? That's up to those individuals, but it won't be because I'm holding back information. If you saw that your Monday update, I heard when they talked about communication. Since then, every Monday you receive an update that has links from every single department that has information that's in there, if they have something to share. This week, there was SEA impact for Elkhart Community Schools, and there was also, I think our budget presentation was in there as well. I plan to speak to every school this year to let them know, really, this is where historically, and this is how the district is going to address those issues. But it's going to take everyone's help to get there, not just from my purview, not from Mrs. Ross, from Doug Thor, Dr. Rouse, she's great at math. It's just going to make sure that you got it, Dr. Rouse. But I just want to make sure that this year is going to be a great year. And I can't wait to hear the presentation from our children tonight, because my focus is always making sure that the kids get everything that they need. And we're going to make sure that happens through adults.
Thank you, Dr.
Kids,
Huff.
we love you.
Ms. Barley, it's great that you went first. This was the first. So it's good you went first.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Scott is regretting his decision.
No,
Oh,
no,
never.
because it's
never.
always positive to start with great, honest discussion that lands in a great answer.
Well, next we have Julie Tyrakowski.
Good evening, President Scott, members of the board, and Dr. Huff. I'm Julie Tarkowski, 20 years teaching here, live in the district. Son just graduated with his associates. I'll forever sing the praises of Lisa and Gail and everybody who's involved with our dual credit programs. Daughter is currently a sophomore here, and my husband just left the district after 20 years to seek opportunities he was never afforded here. Today, staff found out subtly in an ambiguous memo, then confirmed with a staff member contacted payroll, that we will not be getting our added duty pay on our checks this Friday. For some, it may be $26, $50. Others, it's up to $500, $600. Many are in the same boat, but use me as an example. I put in well over 100 hours this summer coming to school to work on extra things. Part of the added duties include planning events, meeting with communications, admin, students, ordering and dispersing supplies, and the list goes on. And you just mentioned that, people weren't supposed to do anything with their added pay until they were told to do so. Is that really what we're saying? Does that make you feel better? Do you want teachers to not start the year with supplies? Because that's our job as lead teacher, is to order supplies. Are we not supposed to start the year with supplies? Are we not supposed to plan events?
I'm sorry, I want to make sure I'm answering your question. You asked 3 of them. I want to make sure I answer every single one of them. I want teachers
Can
to
you pause my time?
Yeah, your time
Thank
is up. We talk all the time, so yes, please pause your time. I want teachers to have everything that they need to. Again, I can't assume, I don't know everything that you've done this summer. I haven't been in those conversations. I will never stop anyone from doing the things they do to be successful. You've been doing this for a while. I've never paused any added pay, but I think historically, we have just gone over year by year, just assuming you're going to do this. You did this last year, right? I'm assuming.
For many years.
And so the next year, you're just doing it just because you know what that needs to, you're doing what it takes to get a building started. right?
Right.
What I'm telling Mrs. Ross, and she's in here, Ms. Ross is back there. Typically in a school district, though, added pay does have an end date to it. Like, let's say it ends June 15th, when the school year ends. You typically wouldn't pick those things back up until you had a conversation with someone saying, hey, have I been approved with X, Y, and Z? I don't know if that occurred across all our added pays this year. So I'm not telling you to do those things. I think in that same memo, is it from Ms. Lozano? I don't know. I didn't write.
I don't know whose name was on it.
I think it said something about it's going to be retro back because now we finally have the names tied to the added pay positions.
Mhm.
Because some people were assigned, but now they no longer work in the school district anymore. So I want to just make sure people get paid and get paid accurately. So when you're saying things that make people feel good or it makes me feel good, nothing up here makes me feel good other than seeing kids succeed and seeing adults have what they need in order. None of this is your response, and I'm not going to respond back in an emotional way. I am proud to be the leader here. So no, that does not make me feel good that you said you put in 100 hours of work this summer. I did not authorize 100 hours of work. That's not my place. But I know that you're doing it to make sure that things get done. So I just want to make sure that is, and Doug, is that how added pay technically is supposed to work?
Added pay has always been on our first pay.
Wait,
I know
Julie,
our-
wait. Are you responding back to him or do you want your time to start?
I think she's just talking. We're just
Okay.
talking. No, she's going to
Um,
get all her time. I just think for me,
Mhm.
and this is, I want everyone, I'm cleaning up some practices that just should have never been in place. And if I need to have individual one-on-one conversations, you can have conversation with me. Everyone in this room know they can have conversation with me. Whatever I'm hearing, and I'm going to just point to members like this is how we've always done it. How we've always done it has landed us in a $12 million deficit this year before we even start the school year. And it's because we haven't had tighter reins on those type of things. These are not things that I want to be aired out in our community. I wish we had these conversations behind the scenes. All the teachers have access to me. But
If I had more than 4 days notice, I could have.
I understand that. I understand that. I don't know that's why I asked who sent that to you. It wasn't me who sent that to
I
you.
didn't even read the name at the bottom. I don't know. It came with the contract. Whoever sends those out or wrote them.
And I'll still follow up with you afterwards. But no,
Sure.
none of this stuff makes me feel good. Trust me, I would much rather be sitting out there, but I have signed up for all the responsibilities of being the superintendent here. And sometimes
Which I
it's
appreciate.
it's the unpopular things. And so, I just want to make sure. And this is Ross, you're back there. I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm not going to have you come. But with added pay, it really should wait until their name is on the dotted line, correct?
Yes, historically, so you can actually budget it from a finance perspective.
Historically-
Can we afford it for fall?
Now,
That's
Okay.
one piece, and we gotta
She's
get
been
the
here 2
right
months.
thing, so.
Yes, it was Maggie on the memo.
I took a lot of her time. I want to make sure she gets all her time.
I just feel like now we're making excuses for why we're not getting paid this Friday. Yet things would not have gotten done had we not put in the work. And we had 4 days notice and it was a very ambiguous memo. But again, I know you don't control all of that. It came from, yes, Maggie's name is on it. So
Can you share, and you will make sure you get your time. Can you share what it says? I want to, what does that mean? Yeah, sorry. Thank you.
No,
Thank
I
you for
never-
it,
yeah.
But like, what's ambiguous about, in your perspective, what's ambiguous? about
So past practice, we've always gotten our contract and our added pays have been on the bottom half. We sign the top for our base salary and on the bottom half, we sign for our added pays. And I do a lot. So there's a lot there. There might be 1 or 2 mistakes and we fix that. But that's always been at the bottom of the contract and it's always on our first pay. Nobody had any added pay at the bottom of their contract. And so I just figured, okay, it's like, we're still going to get it. And I know our principal turned in who was doing what in May, June, and then confirmed again this summer. I just found out yesterday that somebody reached out to principals again recently to confirm that. None of that was communicated. I don't know how people can expect that we're not going to do what needs to be done before the school year starts. So we get this yesterday, today, depends on when we received it. And it said, as always, if corrections needed, please indicate it on a separate sheet of paper. Once all the information is received, revised contract Where am I missing? Okay. Important information for teachers with added pay assignments. This has never been on this memo in the 20 years that I've gotten one. You've been assigned an added pay position. Please be advised those assignments are still being finalized and may not yet appear on your enclosed contract. So that's ambiguous. I reached out to payroll and they said, you should have got a memo. And I said, well, it said maybe. And they did confirm that it will not be on our paycheck Friday.
They said, is there a date when they said it's going to be on your paycheck?
Adjustments to compensation of these assignments will be included in the September 5th payroll. And if you're already serving in an added payroll, your pay will be adjusted retroactively. So a holiday weekend, a pay 2 weeks from now doesn't help. Doesn't help what we're missing Friday with 4 days notice. But so I appreciate that. Okay, thank you. So this is not a small mistake. This bill is not paid, groceries not bought, that's trust broken. We can't accept excuses when livelihoods are on the line. If employees are expected to be on time, meet deadlines, then those who are in charge of pay must be held to the same standard. No more errors, no more delays, no more surprises. There's currently 181 job openings listed on our corporation website. We like to offer bonuses and new perks to try to recruit more staff to join ECS. Would we have less people leaving and fewer holes to fill if we simply treated our current employees with decency, communicated clearly, and took care of each other? Not to mention, we have lost multiple quality candidates due to the lack of urgency in securing those spots, even though recommendations are made to hire. Last board meeting, many policies were revised and or passed. This is a completely separate topic. Although there is one tie-in. We're constantly told that policies are in place for reporting incidents, policies meant to protect employees and ensure fairness. But here's the real question. Who holds HR accountable when they fail to act on those reports? HR often positions itself as both the gatekeeper and the judge, but that creates a dangerous imbalance. If an employee mishandles their job, they face consequences. If HR mishandles theirs, too often it's swept under the rug. Accountability can't be one-sided. For a workplace to truly be safe, transparent, and just, HR must answer to the same standards of responsibility and accountability they demand from us. Without that, policies are just words on paper, not protections in practice. What happens when they don't do their due diligence in reporting to the district council / chief of staff? What goes in their file? When reports are made, do those go in staff files? How do we hire back former employees when multiple reports were made? Thank you.
Mr. Eckhouse, I just want to say I'm going to follow up with you on your concerns personally as well. Thank you.
Katie Lane.
All right. Hi, I'm Katie Lane. I have been a teacher here for 15 years. I'm also a product of Elkhart Community Schools. Okay, so I got to get my debate. Got to go fast. Okay. My name is Katie Lane. I'm a product of Oslo Elementary School, Northside Middle School. I was class of Memorial 2006. I've been teaching here for 15 years at Elkhart High School and Memorial High School, and my late son's name resides on that apple tree out in the lobby. And Elkhart has been my home for my entire life. Today at lunch, I went to sign my contract to find out if my added pay positions were on my contract. Of course, confused, asked questions when I was told to write it down on a piece of paper, send it back in. And that is when I was directed to the paper that was stapled to our contract that stated, just as Julie had mentioned, that it would not be on there. They were not finalized, and that we would receive that money retroactively if it is approved. So I look at that and I started putting puzzle pieces together after communicating with my colleagues who have, looked into this, realized that on our first pay this Friday, it's not going to be there. And for myself, I'm an acting dual credit instructor who's been working with my dual credit kids for over 6 years. For the past 2 weeks, we've been working really hard on getting our Ivy Tech classes set up and getting them enrolled. I am the academic Super Bowl coach and senior class student government sponsor. This makes up $400 of my biweekly paychecks. And we were given a, 4-day indirect notice that we're not going to get this money this week. Will my bills get paid? Yeah, but the problem is that leaves my family with absolutely nothing left over. This means that my daughter, who's 12 on Saturday, she's not going to get the birthday she deserves. The girl who's endured so much in her life, who has sat beside me as we buried two of my sons, has buried her brothers, who worked so hard in everything she does. She's not going to get the promised birthday that she deserves or the gifts that I promised her were coming, all because I don't have that money now. That promised money that has come 14 years in a row, on time, always in the same format. I'm not getting it. I signed a paper at the end of last school year saying, will I take this position on again? I said yes. The principal signed it saying, we agree, you can have your position. And it was sent in. Every year, that has been what is necessary. I've been working in this job since the summer. Student government, we work all summer long trying to get these kids prepared to put together events for the student body. And it's just, we've been doing this. And so we just assume that the pay is going to come.
Also, 20 seconds, because you've been doing a wonderful job. You made it through. Mr. Anderson actually advocated for a group of people who worked in the summer. Yes, I certainly can speak it to the microphone. Thank you. One of the things that Mr. Anderson advocated for when we were having this conversation, he said, well, some of these individuals have already been working in the summer. I said, oh, I didn't know that because I haven't seen that, right? And he did. He said, hey, we've had people who started to do that work. That was just, when did we have that conversation? Monday. I wasn't made aware of that till Monday. So no passing the buck excuse. This is your real life. We'll make sure that we make corrections because there were people who are already working before this school year started, right? Technically, the summer is still a continuation of the last school year. I'm not been here 18 years like you have. In my previous district, they wouldn't have done anything over the summer. Everything would have been like a stipend type of pay opposed to being added pay. So that is something that will be rectified. It'll be rectified quickly. But I didn't know that there were people working on those things over the summer. So I will tell you that conversation just came up on Monday. So thank you for allowing me to interrupt your time.
So this is how myself, my colleagues, this is how we've been treated. I'm the teacher that kids get brought to when they failed with every other teacher. I'm the teacher that's like, they just cussed out their previous teacher. You're good with them. Can you work with them? And this is how we get treated. And I just, my light diminished a little for Elkhart, knowing that my kid's not going to get her birthday. So thank you.
I'll be fine with her. I'll be fine with Mrs. Delane as well.
Okay. Thank you.
I do think one of the things, though, that I picked up is that there's a lot of activity that happens in our school district and it operates in a silo. If we had at the end of the year, these are all the people who will be doing work in the summer, I won't believe that any pay would have stopped. I didn't know that. I don't know if my business office knew that. I don't know, Ms. Lozano's not here this evening, if she has expressed that. But I know that for me, all I got to do is hear things one time. But I want accurate information that's there. And so I think Mr. Anderson, Dr. Roush, Mrs. Reese, we will make sure that moving forward, we know exactly when and who is working and who's slotted for what. Because I agree, people should be paid for when they work. But I want our district to know, we said that things have been happening in this district 14 years like clockwork. I've only been here for 19 months. I've discovered things that should have not been happening in our school district like clockwork. That has got us into a major deficit. We spent an added pay $3.2 million in a 2-year span, 557% increase. I don't know how that started. I asked my colleagues who were here, they don't know how it started either. Well, things just don't happen on their own. So I think a person who is prudent and who is trying to right the ship looks at everything. Because at the end of the day, I know for me, I can just let things be the way that they are, and we'll be in worse case next year. Mr. Crabtree, you're back there. You're dealing this down at the city office as well, right? Yes, sir. Are you going through every line? We are. And you know what? In the summer, it's so condensed. Senate Roll Act 1 didn't come out until July 1st. We needed to interpret 3,000 pages of documents in a short period of time. Federal grants, they stopped those on June 30th. They didn't release them until August 1st. We still technically don't have the money. Literacy cadre. Oh, we'll pay for it. Guess who? They're not paying for it. We're paying for it. So we have to play whack-a-mole on where these things come from. Sorry, young kids, you're getting a lesson in life.
Fact.
And we've talked to your representatives every step of the way. I heard about communication. That's why I say, hey, on Monday, you'll get this, you'll get this. I'm a man who does everything that he says he's going to do. That's what my legacy I would like it to be. This has been the hardest year of my life, navigating opening up a school and seeing that you're already 12 million in the hole before you even open the door. And that didn't start this year. That didn't start last year. That started many years ago. So in the midst of all that, you still did great things for children. You have the highest iRead scores in as far as a large urban school district in the state of Indiana. Take pride in that. I know that does not solve that issue, but that is a story that needs to be told, because that's not a story, that is fact. You have teachers and kids busting their tails to do great things for our school district, and we will do it this year too. I don't like to sit up here and pontificate. Again, I would be a person who would like to be behind the scenes, but I want to make sure that we all understand, as I speak to every teacher, every staff member, every custodian, every maintenance person this year, this is the issue. This is how I want you to feel about the issue, and this is what we're doing about the issue. You'll see more financial talks this year than you probably in your previous 20 years here. And we've already started it all summer. If you paid attention, I did financial presentations pretty much once a month or every other week. Tonight, you'll get a different financial presentation to really break down what that looks like. We are not immune to what's happening with Senate Enrolled Act 1. It is one of the most devastating forms of legislation ever. Mr. Crabtree, you're back there shaking your head. And schools lose. Schools lost. But kids will not lose under my watch, and neither will adults. So we have to do some shifting. So I hope people offer her some patience, some grace, because I know that I'm going to need it, but we're also got some heavy lifting or some things that are going to come down. And so I have my remarks. I will follow up with all these people who spoke. This will be the last time, so don't think you're getting special treatment next time. I'm not speaking after public comment, but I want to make sure that the energy that I bring to the table, we're all responsible for the energy we bring to the table. I don't never want us to say that we're mistreating teachers, because if we fall short, we'll own it. And Mr. Anderson, you spoke up for those teachers this summer. I will make sure that we follow up with them. But also, there were people, I didn't even know they were doing added pay positions. So we went through every single one of them this year. So I just want to make sure that, I want to be a good financial steward to our school district, because this district's going to be around way longer than I'm going to be here or any other body who sits in my seat. Hopefully it's around for another 100 years. But it starts with us making good decisions today. I'm going to turn it back over to you, President Scott.
Thank you, Dr. Huff. And for the record, this was the exception tonight on public comment. We will be going back to the normal format. And, I've talked about the format before. It's not the appropriate format to have this type of back and forth discussion, okay? And a lot of times we have to sit here and listen, we'll take notes, and we'll follow up. Tonight we heard about an ambiguous memo that was later, Julie, you defined where it came from. We heard about a policy that our chief of staff, who's been here for over 22, 23, 24 years, has never heard of. These are all things that could be vetted out prior to this meeting in a format that will allow this type of dialogue so it can be actionable, so we can, get the answers that you guys need, and also may be informed. I've been informed by listening to Dr. Huff tonight. I've learned some things. I've been informed by our speakers tonight, and I've learned some things. But this is, in my tenure on the board, this is the most accessible superintendent that I have ever worked with, and his administration is very acceptable. I encourage you guys that if there is an issue, and I know 4 days is a short turnaround, is a short window, but if you haven't done the chain of command, the protocol, spoke with HR, building leaders, then, and certainly you didn't speak to the superintendent. And that's when you come to the board and you tell us that, we spoke to numerous people, and it's gotten nowhere. That's what, this format is for in public comment. So tonight was the exception. I think we will.
Can we make one more exception?
We're at the end of public
We
comment.
did follow those. Emails were sent, they were not answered.
All right.
Was one sent to me? I just want to make sure that I
They
didn't.
were sent to HR.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure that I didn't. I want to make sure that I hold myself high and reply to people's email. There's one person. who
And
I don't
again,
reply to, but
and
everybody else I
again,
reply
the chain of commands, if you know, I don't disbelieve that occurred. If you do not get the answers that you need, it stops here. Okay? You bring it up to him. If he doesn't answer, then we've got, as a board, we have one employee we're in charge of. And it's this man right here. And if he does not answer you, then we can have a discussion. But it needs to go to him before, you know, we say is broken. So going forward, we will come back to the protocol of public comment just for everybody's understanding. But I think this was good dialogue tonight, and we will he will follow up with everybody individually. So
I'll follow by tomorrow.
with that said, let's move on to something that's a moment of pride, which I look forward to. We have the National History Day National Qualifiers. Please come forward.
Thank you, President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff, for allowing us to share with you this evening. It is my privilege to introduce the two teachers that helped our students get to the national stage in history this year. So Dr. Natalie Schultz back here is our 8th grade high ability cohort teacher and our high ability coordinator at Westside. And Mr. Chad Crabtree is our 7th grade high ability cohort teacher. And I'm going to have him introduce our amazing students.
Thank you, Ms. Ernsberger. Dr. Huff and members of the board, thank you for this opportunity. I just wanted to let you know what National History Day is. It's a nonprofit education organization improving teaching and teaching history, the learning of history. NHD's core program is its competition in which students in grades 6 through 12 choose a topic and dive deeply into the past, conducting extensive research in libraries, archives, and museums. Then they present their conclusions and evidence through papers, exhibits, performances, documentaries, or websites, moving through a series of contest levels where they are evaluated by professional historians and educators. Through this process, the students develop skills in communication, project management, and historical thinking. This program in the state is sponsored by the Indiana Historical Society. This year's theme, as you can see from our shirts, is rights and responsibilities. I do want to thank our sponsors. We could have not have done this without our sponsors and being able to have the students pay a large chunk out of pocket. So I do want to thank Welch Packaging, Hartzler Gutermuth Inman Funeral Home, Hull Lift Truck, and Rocky Enfield State Farm Insurance. These sponsors are the ones that came forward for a kind donation to help these students pay for the trip that they needed to get to DC. So without ado, I want to introduce Paige Miller, who is junior individual exhibit. Her exhibit was Dorothy Dix and the Asylum Movement. Joining her are Aniri Mehta, Anya Berkshire, Aubrey Burmeister, Brenda Martinez, who is the junior group performance winner, Musicians of the Civil Rights.
And go ahead and pull the microphone down to you. Just right like this. There you go. There you go.
This June, we were able to participate in the National History Day competition in College Park, Maryland. It was an extremely unique, fun, and rewarding trip that we hope we get to do again next year.
So the overview of NHC was during this time we were there. We had many fun experiences. We walked downtown and saw the White House, Washington Monument, Worldwide to Memorial, and private aspects of the U.S. Capitol. We stayed in the dorms of the University of Maryland, College Park campus. We had opportunities to go out to explore the campus and got to know our way around. The group had an amazing time, and we got to socialize with many different peoples with many different people from different states and countries. We got to see and engage in many things that most people wouldn't get the chance to do. We made very good memories wherever we were, even on the metro and in the dorms. Here you could see all the states and countries we got, different pins. There was Georgia, Tennessee, Missouri, Utah, Vermont, California, South Korea, Guam, and Wilmington. There's a lot of fun. This experience was definitely fun. I would love to do it again this year.
Okay, so we had a lot of achievements and highlights. Some really cool things we did where we visited the national monuments like the U.S. Capitol, the Washington Monument, and so many more. And we got to meet so many new people and make so many new friends. We also got to socialize with every state and also like international guests, like from South Korea, Guam, Thailand. And it was really fun to see how each state had their pins. We also got to meet the Speaker of the House, which was an extremely good opportunity. And we, the four of us, got a coin from the Speaker of the House, and we got to see the private chapel, and it was really fun. And we got to stay for 5 days in the college dorms, which was a really cool experience. So, yeah.
Okay, so the student impact. This experience was definitely something new for me. Me personally, I've never really traveled a lot. And so this opportunity for school, it was definitely something really fun. We walked so much, my feet hurt, but it was all worth it. It was so much fun. I had an amazing time. The dorms were fun. Going on the metro was fun. Everything was so exciting and like thrilling, and I would love to do it again. Seventh grade, I was not social. I hated talking to people. I hated talking in front of people. I hated group projects. I hated all of that. But when I went over there, we had to trade pins, obviously, from other people. So I didn't have time to not be sociable. I had to be sociable. I had to talk to different people, and it was scary, but I got over it. And now I talk to a lot of people.
Oh, she's really like that girl.
This was a great opportunity for us, and it would not have been possible without these sponsors. Thank you to Welch Packaging, Whole Lift Trucks, Rocky Enfield, Ms. Lexi Gribble, Dr. Schultz, Mr. Crabtree, and Mrs. Ernstberger. We are so grateful for all of them, and we are so happy that we got to be a part of this wonderful competition.
So here's a picture of the four of us right before we did our performance, and any questions. And this is also another picture of the Speaker of the House.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, the coin that you have, can you give that to Mr. Burnett here? And I'd like to pass that around and we'll see it. Those are called.
I'll give it back.
Yeah, I will let him hold it. I won't.
Well, since it come from a Speaker of the House, it's probably made out of bronze or something, a nice metal. It's not really gold, I guess. But those are called challenge coins. And they come out, they're very beautiful. My wife had gotten one from the Secretary of State of Indiana and stuff like that. And I think they're good advertising. I think they're good marketing. They're something, a keepsake, that people, keep around, stuff like that. What was your, you did a program or a presentation? You mentioned you were standing in front of that red curtain. You were,
So for NHD, there's different formats you can do. Brenda and I, with our group, we chose to do a performance, and we did it about the musicians of civil rights.
okay.
And the three musicians we focused on were Duke Ellington, Bob Dylan, and Michael Jackson, and how they through their influence, they changed how people saw civil rights, and they campaigned and helped others.
So my project was a bit different. I chose to do one by myself, like an exhibit, kind of like the science fair, but for history. Mine was on Dorothea Dix, who was a champion for the rights of the mentally ill in America in the 19th century. And yeah.
Thank you.
When you do that, do they like talk back and forth with you? Are they asking questions to you? And that's how they're kind of like seeing if the process is like valid and that you know what's going on? Or do they challenge you a little bit? And are you in front of a group of people?
So going to regions, we have just 3 judges, a few other people. People can't really walk in, right? But then going to state, people can walk in. I remember going to state, there was not really many people, but when we went to nationals, there was like a bunch of kids, people just walked in and they saw a performance. Our performance had to be about 10 minutes. And at the end, they would ask us questions like, what inspired you to do this? How is it connected to the theme? And questions related to that.
And what is your favorite pin that you received?
Oh,
I like the coin.
the potato.
Oh, nice.
It's a little Idaho potato.
Oh, I love it. That is
And
awesome.
what does the pin look like that you were giving and trading? What does
Ours
our
wasn't
pin
the
look like?
prettiest.
Oh, I thought that was ours. Yeah. All right. We'll work on that next year. No.
We'll have challenge coins next year.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Doug will take care
We're
of
not going
that.
to let the
Yeah.
Speaker of the House outdo us.
No way. Oh, you guys, congratulations. I am completely looking forward to seeing you guys again next year. And thank you both and Lisa for, making this happen for our children. It's just like, as you talked about, Dr. Huff, the great things that are happening in our school. This is just another opportunity for children younger than you to be able to see exactly what you got to experience. And you spoke a language that a lot of children are speaking, and that's, I'm nervous about talking in front of people. I don't really know how to do it. And I applaud you because I don't understand how that feels, but I do know what it feels like for other people. And, but it can be overwhelming to be a talker too, but I am so impressed by you. That was very courageous. And I think it's funny that you like the Metro, but it was super interesting to watch people, wasn't it? Yeah, for sure. Congratulations, you guys. You are amazing.
I'll say real quick, I'm sitting here looking at you ladies' faces and they're bright and smiling. And for that, I want to thank the sponsors as well. Experience matter, exposure definitely matters. And I'm glad you guys had that experience and exposure to our capital. So I'm glad you guys had fun. And I also hope you guys can go back.
I also want to thank you. Very proud of you. You represented our whole school district, our whole community well. We're lucky and blessed and we're better because you're part of our school community. Also, your leaders behind you, your Lisa Ernsberger, who thank you for get out.
She's trying to hide, not happening.
Thank you for coordinating this and making sure that this happens for our kids every single year. I think that without your leadership, these things wouldn't be possible. And I think these are great highlights of all the things that we offer our kids, Colorado Trip, these type things that are just not happening in other places. So again, I just want to tell you, all of you, it takes a whole village to get things together, but it does take people with a vision and a passion. So I just want to tell all 3 of you adults, thank you for doing this every year. And trust me, they are going to remember this for the rest of their lives because of you. So thank you.
Yeah.
Don't forget your coin.
I told you.
I have it. Doug doesn't have it. I have it.
It's over there.
Uh-oh. Bye, you guys.
Next on the agenda, Mr. Kavanaugh, the Eastwood report.
Sure. You should for sure.
Oh, yeah.
He's just going to take a picture. Photo op.
Yeah.
Mr. Photo op.
We good?
We're good to go.
Okay. President Scott, members of the board, Dr. F, thank you so much for letting Eastwood be here. We have our literacy coach, Denise Demeter, our assistant principal, Cambria Neely, and a posse of Eastwood teachers with us today to celebrate. So first, I want to highlight the district and the success that all our elementary schools had this year. huge growth. So not just recognition for us, but across the district. We're excited to be partners with all of our colleagues and continue to strive for that success. Last year was my first year as principal at Eastwood Elementary School. Historically, we had been around that 72%, 70% pass rate for iRead. At the end of the year, we had a 94.4% pass rate, so roughly about a 23% growth from the previous year. So the overall growth and the accomplishment of our students is something that we have to brag about. Super excited to share that with our community, our families, and the board. Don't want to just highlight iRead. We also had a lot of growth in iLearn. So within our school improvement plan, we had iRead as our top goal. We met that, but also for iLearn, we had a 5% growth from the previous year as our goals, and we surpassed that both in ELA and math. So overall, everyone at Eastwood Elementary School worked hard, and we were tired at the end of the year. So I missed that. You want to go over? Sorry.
You're not going to take my slides away from me. I'm Denise Demeter, like you said, and I am the literacy coach for Eastwood. I will have to say that being in front of you guys is a lot more comfortable than being in front of the State Board of Education, especially when we're a little bit more prepared and know what what was expected of us. But it does remind me of one of the most amazing days of my life and my career. Being at the State Board of Education was awesome, with seeing Eastwood up there. But how did it happen? It started with Tier 1. We had foundations. Our third grade class last year had foundations since kindergarten, so we think that that was the contributor to our success. Our teachers were they were very consistent with foundations. We spent a half hour of our lesson of our day focusing on the 5 pillars of literacy instruction, which started with phonemic awareness. Then Tier 2, which led to geodes. Geodes was a really big thing at Eastwood. We did geodes interventions with K through 5. We had everybody on deck. When it says it takes a village, it takes a village. We had our specials teachers. Every special teacher in our building had intervention groups, and not just 1, but 2 or 3. We had retired teachers, and they were fun. We had 3 of them, and Nancy seems to be a very common name with retired teachers, so we called them the Nancys, but there was one that wasn't. But I remember they came in from day one, and they were used to doing reading recovery instructional practices, and they had to come to me and find out that we were now in the science of reading, and they were about to turn around and leave the building and decided that they would try it. And they looked at geodes, and if you've ever seen a geodes book, it's very complex, and it has social studies and science-based practices, but it follows the science of reading. And they were not having it at first, but they got into it and they had fun. They found one with log cabins, and they brought in what do you call those? Lincoln logs. The kids never saw Lincoln logs because they're a thing of the past. So they built log cabins. So they had fun with it. We have volunteers. We have Mrs. Mullins come to our kindergarten class and read on Fridays, which has helped tremendously. And they actually even call her Gigi. So they know her. We have community members from all over. We have the biggest support for Eastwood, which has made a difference. And I'm going to have to put a little success on the cadres, which I'm going to be honest with you, when I talked to Barb Kripe last year, the first day, and I'd been in the classroom for 29 years. I didn't even know what cadre meant. I thought, what in the world does a literacy cadre do? But I'm so happy I did it. All of us literacy coaches work really well together. And I think if you look across the board, not just at Eastwood, you'll see that Elkhart community soared in all of their progress that we made in iRead. And I really strongly believe that when you look at one common factor, we had literacy coaches. And I'm going to piggyback on Michelle Reese. I was with her Friday, and she said when she was in a school district that she really relied on her interventionist and literacy coaches. And I think Eastwood, we have not had an interventionist. So I was the first part of that piece that came to Eastwood. And I think just bringing it all together with our awesome administrators and putting that together with everybody, it took a village. And that was one of the things that I wish I would have said back at the state board. But of course I got up there and I froze. Luckily, Dr. Huff started off with a great comment and kind of got the crowd going because I felt like I flopped, but I wanted to make up for it here.
You did a good job. We watched it. You did great.
So anyway, thank you for having us, and we are so very proud of our school. And one other thing, I did not flip the slides because I talked too much, but if you look at the pictures, we have added pictures, and the really awesome thing about these pictures that shows about Eastwood is they're all pictures of students that staff have brought to Eastwood. And that was the most amazing thing because we have lots, in fact, we have lots of people sitting here that have had students have their own children go to Eastwood. My own children went there. So we are all vested and very proud of Eastwood. So thank you for having us. And this is a celebration one, so we can be happy.
I want to go to the keys to success. So just to wrap it up, I just want to just say Elkhart Community Schools investing in letters. Teachers have sat down, they've learned a ton, and they've implemented all those practices in our classroom. I think there was some hesitancy because it was almost a mandatory training, like what in the world's going on? But as we started diving into it, you could see the teachers running with it and implementing those practices in the classroom. And so thank you to the board, to Dr. Huff, the cabinet members for investing in that. I think that has grown our teachers quite a bit. Strong PLC practices, setting expectations, practices that have been implemented from years, may not have always been best practices. And so coming into a new school, into a new year, setting high expectations and some sound practices so that PLC collaboration, giving teachers time to collaborate with one another, get coverage for classrooms. Again, we can't get that accomplished without Dr. Huff and the cabinet members backing on that. And so again, parent and community partnerships, we can't do it without them. That's what we're here for. We're here for the kids and the community. And so 94% is hard to get to, but our goal is 95 to get to that state level. So we appreciate
94.7.
It's technically
we round up in Elkhart, my friends.
Hey,
Let's be honest.
We'll get there. So thank you, President Scott, board members, and Dr. Huff.
One. I just want to tell you, one, thank you for your service that you do for our country. You every year, I know that you put your literal life on the line for our country. So I just want to say thank you. It starts with amazing teacher. She's one of the funniest ladies you ever get a chance to spend time. I enjoyed our time down at the State House. It was nice to brag on our school district and nice for it to be recognized, but you did a wonderful job down there. Hopefully your family was proud that while you were there. We all win when kids win, right? I want that to be our calling card. Also, great leadership. Mrs. Neely, outstanding assistant principal there. Hats off to you. You've been at Eastwood out here for a couple months too. Just a few. And Mr. Kavanaugh, for a first-year principal, you killed it. You did a wonderful job there. And you're a great leader, and they're very blessed to have you there. And that is a true school community. So I just want to tell all of you, thank you. You represent our school district well, and I expect to see continued great things at your school. But I also know that we have another school here as well. They're back there sitting in the back, Woodland Elementary School.
He's ready to talk tonight, Dr. Huff.
But also, what'd you say?
I was happy for my colleague.
You're happy?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Beck, to appreciate it. But I just want to tell you thank you. Appreciate it. And look forward to all those things. Celebrate as long as you can.
Absolutely.
And we'll look forward to next year.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Job well done. Let's keep the positivity going with the excellence of Elkhart.
Thank you, President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff, community members. I'm grateful for the opportunity to share highlights in the areas of academics, arts, and athletics. Students and staff are settling into the new school year with energy and enthusiasm. Along with diving into lessons and routines, schools have kicked off the year with pride assemblies, celebrating the values of persistence, respectfulness, initiative, dependability, and efficiency, setting goals and inspiring everyone for a successful year ahead. Last week, it was announced our third graders made impressive gains on iRead with 80.9% passing up to 64.7% last year and the highest in Elkhart County. 9 schools are now above the 80%, thanks to our dedicated staff and hardworking students. In the area of arts, Riverview second graders kicked off the school year with creative math-inspired art projects. They worked on color by number projects in which each color was tied to a math problem, blending creativity and critical thinking. Highlighting girls' golf and athletics, Elkhart defeated South Bend Adams on Bent Oak 216 to 232, improving to 2-1 overall. The teams continued to show steady progress, the golfers excelling on the course and working towards their personal best. Girls flag football. In preparation for the upcoming season, captains and co-captains have been selected to help lead their teammates. There is a great excitement around this new program as it begins to take shape. You can catch the very first game tomorrow night at South Bend Adams. Some of our future happenings. September 1st will be closed for Labor Day. September 4th, Elkhart Area Career Center has a back to school night. September 12th, our Emmons Coaches Award at halftime. September 26th is our homecoming. And as always, you can stay up to date by following us on social media. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the consent items. Do I have a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion. I have a second. Do I have any comments from the board?
Yes, we have at $26,400, we have our donations from our community. So we have 2 donations for our cross-country team. One is a $1,500 donation from Dana Homo, and then one is a $1,400 donation from Pure Vita Pop-Up Yoga Adventure Retreats. And if you are not familiar with that, that is Jenny Nolan, who also was our diving coach formerly and does a lot of yoga with a lot of our athletes pro bono. So if you're ever looking for yoga, she does a wonderful job, but she donated that to build up our girls cross-country program. We had $500 from Legacy Heating and Air. That's another one to point out. We have many of our employees that graduated from our Elkhart Area Career Center that work at that company. So that's really important to realize when we talk about community partnerships and what they do with our students and their businesses locally. So thank you to them. They donated that for volleyball, travel, apparel, etc. And then we have $3,000 that came from Lori Marks, and that benefited our new teacher orientation and our welcome back breakfast. But once again, here she comes, Phyllis Tubbs, $20,000 to our athletic department. So at $26,400, we once again start our year with a wonderful bonus from our community who believes in us. And then we'll take a minute to celebrate Janet Simmons, who has retired from our school district after 31 years of service as a Beardsley assistant tech or a tech assistant. So we thank her for her time that she spent with our students, and we look forward to her enjoying her retirement. And on that note, we can move right on.
Thank you, Kelly. I have a motion and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Give me a copy.
Motion carries unanimously. Next on the agenda, we have old business. Mr. Thorne.
Thank you. The administration is presenting for final consideration proposed agreements with Michiana Public Broadcasting Corporation for the WVPE and Frank Films for the Elkhart Area Career Center.
Administration presents contracts for final consideration for Edmentum and IXL Learning.
Looks a little bit different. They're all presenting their own contracts. So if you have questions, you can ask them.
Right.
Because he's just going to, so a little bit different.
Good evening. I am presenting the contracts for approval, final approval for ADEC, Sprigio, Emergis Healthcare Staffing, Relay Hub, and Loveway.
Thank you.
Okay, Tech Services is presenting Secure W2, SweetHawk, and AdTech Administrative and Technical Consulting.
That's all of them.
That's all for
Okay.
final. Yes, we'll be back.
Do I have a motion for the contracts as presented?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Do I have any discussion or questions from the board regarding these contracts?
Yeah, on the tower, who owns the land or that the tower sits on?
It's a great question, Mr. Weaver. It is actually owned by the Hayes Corporation, actually owns the tower. WNIT, or Michiana Public Broadcasting, leases that from us, from them, and then we lease from WNIT space on the tower.
Okay, who owns the land?
Hayes.
Oh, so they're on our property and they own that little piece.
We're talking about the tower in South Bend, the big tower.
Oh, I thought you were talking about these over
No,
here.
we're not talking about our little tower here. We're talking about the big tower in
Okay.
South Bend.
All right. Didn't seem like I read through there that it really said that way, but that's okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Good.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Was somebody doing one on Frank Films? Okay. On Frank Films, parts 1, 2, and 3, what are we getting for our money there?
You are getting some promotional films that promote what happens at the Elkhart Career Center, as well as the many partnerships that the Elkhart Career Center has for our students. So it's really all in terms of providing promotional videos, really focusing on the great things that are happening at the Career Center.
All right. The second question is, do these go through Wendy? Because
These
there are
do-
promotional video, marketing, communication.
These are also funded by a separate grant. So the answer is, of course, Wendy would have access to them, as would anybody else, but no, they don't actually go through our communications department in this particular
And my
situation.
point being was that in Wendy's role in her position and stuff like that, I believe that, she kind of represents and makes the brand for the school corporation. And I want to make sure that everything that we put out there represents the brand and the marketing of our school corporation. And so I'm concerned that, when I see things that she may be not involved in or something like that, it's like, that's what we pay her for. We should use her to do that with. Now, maybe she doesn't want to do it, but, after I brought it up, but anyhow, consistency and, thoroughness and stuff like that way, the left hand knows what the right hand's doing and stuff like that. And we do have some of that here with the Career Center and stuff like that. Sometimes they kind of do their own thing. All right. And athletics sometimes does their own things when it comes to marketing and branding and so on and so forth like that. We need to bring all that under one person, one house. And so it's unified and we all generate the same message over and over. So it's repeatable.
We'll be happy to share that wisdom with the Career Center.
And
So that
I'm also assuming that there's nothing that goes out. I see in the proposed schedule for the campaigns, there's a first draft, revision, final delivery. So none of this would go out without the district signing off. And to his point, I think it is a good point. If Ms. Woods is not involved, she should have a seat at the table just to be involved, because since it parallels what she does with the district.
Very much agree. And certainly I don't think Mr. Eakins or anybody at the Career Center would have a problem with Wendy having a voice in this matter.
You can thank us later, Wendy.
I know, I'm watching Wendy's face. She's like, great.
We only do this because we like you.
Do I have any other questions or comments from the board regarding the contracts as presented? Hearing or seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, Mr. Thorne, we have board policy 7440.01 under old business.
Thank you, President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff. The administration is presenting proposed revisions to electronic monitoring and recording policy. This revision addresses the district's use of video surveillance equipment as well as smart sensor technology, including the use of vape detectors in our secondary schools. And we're seeking your approval this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Thorne. Do I have a motion on Board Policy 7440.01, electronic monitoring and recording?
Motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any questions or comments regarding this policy?
Okay.
Lots of questions. I just want to think about the policy.
No.
Hearing or seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next on the agenda, new business. Mr. Thorne, the podium is still yours. Contracts.
Thank you. The administration is presenting contracts for initial consideration. The two that I'll be speaking to is the Eden Barber Academy contract and Medical Communications Ambassadors LLC. The Barber Academy contract is with the Career Center, and Medical Communication Ambassadors is an adult education program contract. Bringing these for initial consideration, and I will step aside for my colleagues.
Initial consideration, also ad tech, administrative and technical consulting. That's for our E-rate services.
Administration presents contracts for initial consideration for the Crossing National Incorporated for the high school.
Good evening. Administration also presents for initial consideration the proposed agreement with Alexia Voyager Sopris for Acadians. I am just going to make a note here that this is a change to a previous contract that you have agreed to. The formative assessment grant is only allowing for K-2 to be funded through their grant. So we are amending that contract and bringing this to you for initial consideration at this time. And that is a cost savings.
Good evening. The administration presents contracts for the initial consideration of a continued partnership with Policy Analytics.
You.
Good evening. I am presenting the Elkhart County Special Education Cooperative Contract for your initial consideration. This is for services for students with blind, low vision, I apologize, who are deaf, hard of hearing that require specialized services.
This is a change in the scope of our relationship with this co-op prior.
It's our last year.
It's our last year with them. We're working on our step-down services, and I will be providing Dr. Huff with a report on what that looks like over the course of the next 18 months. And these services have been reduced in this contract as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Thorne, I have a question. That way, in 2 weeks, when you come back, you'll be prepared.
Yes, sir.
The Eden contract, what were the result? That the contract is a year old, correct? I
believe it's actually
is it 2
years old.
Really, man, time flies. But anyhow, what has been the results that we've gotten through that program? You don't have to answer that question today. 2 weeks, you can answer that question.
I'll make sure that I get all the information you want
Right.
from Mr. Brandon Eakins.
And you know, and we're going to get a good story, a good positive result out of this is what I'm expecting and stuff like that. So cool.
Oh, wait,
Yes,
I'm
yes,
still
yeah,
here, aren't I?
Yeah, you're. I don't know where you're going.
You're here a little bit longer, Doug.
Under new business, board policy 2623.01, test administration and security.
Good evening. Again, the administration is bringing for preliminary consideration revisions to this policy, which reflects a change in the title of the district test coordinator, not in terms of the individual, but that individual's title. Bringing this just for preliminary consideration.
Thank you. And also,
Question. That was a very simple 1 word or 2 word change, wasn't it?
That's correct.
Is there any reason why we wouldn't go ahead and actually pass that tonight?
other than there's no sense of urgency
There's
from a
really no sense of
timeline.
urgency from that
Okay,
standpoint.
Right, and we have a couple board members, or one board member is not here tonight, so I want to make sure if she does have any questions, she's afforded the opportunity to.
Well, I talked to her and she didn't. Just so you know.
Well,
You're only one voice of seven, Doug.
2 out of 7.
And then any other questions or comments? The next is Administrative Guidelines 5200, student attendance.
Thank you. We are proposing adoption of these guidelines, which will align our attendance practices with the requirements of Senate Enrolled Act 482, and we are requesting a waiver of a second review of this administrative guideline.
Thank you. Dr. Roush, we have a proposed revision for the 2025-2026 school calendar.
Yes, President Scott, School Board of Trustees, Dr. Huff. The administration presents proposed revisions to the 25-26 school calendar and requests to waive the second reading. October 1st will no longer be a synchronous day, as this is count day. So we'll just have November 4th.
Important to be here on count day.
Yes.
Do I have a motion to accept the 2025-2026 revised school calendar?
So move.
Second? I have a motion. I have a second. Any questions or discussion regarding the revision? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Almost a little premature. Ms. Brander, you have agreement for non-residential services?
Yes. Thank you, Board President Scott, members of the board, and Dr. Huff. The administration recommends board approval of an agreement for non-residential services for an Elkhart Community Schools student.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Do I have any questions or discussion regarding the agreement for non-residential services?
Now, this amount, is this a straight pass-through that just Elkhart Schools handles the transfer of that money through the system to?
It's a reimbursement.
Or we spend it and then we get reimbursed?
Correct.
Okay. And so how many similarly situated students are there on this program?
So this is sort of a blanket terminology that the state uses for a program called Special Education Excess Cost. So the state allows for us to request reimbursement when we have to provide services for a student with a disability that is sort of above and beyond what is needed, I guess, to access the general education curriculum. For some of our students, that is services within a residential facility, but it's not many. Most of them are receiving, they might require more staff attention during the day. And so we're allowed to request through an application process to get reimbursement for those. So you've seen several of these come up on our board packets within the last couple of months, and that's because we are ensuring that we are applying for any available funds that we can receive reimbursement for.
Add to what you're saying.
Please.
We went a long period of time without asking for reimbursement for these.
Correct.
So we've lost out on opportunities of hundreds of thousands of dollars
Yes.
over years. Under your watch, we've actually pursued every single one of those.
Yes, and we will continue to pursue them.
So I just want to tell you, thank you for your diligence in making sure that we get reimbursed for every single one of these.
Yeah, just to be clear, that did not occur under your watch.
No.
Under your watch.
Under her watch.
I just want to make sure
She
everybody.
has been diligent about making sure that we have done this.
Yes.
That did not occur under her watch.
Commas are important.
I'm just letting you know, Mrs. Brander is doing wonderful, overseeing 2 departments, but she is making sure that we get reimbursed for every dollar that we are owed by these entities. So I just want to tell you, thank you.
Thank you.
What is the span of age range from the youngest to the oldest in that category?
So students that we're submitting excess cost applications for?
Yeah, well, I mean, by law, there's probably an age range that, does it go from first grade to high school, 12? Or does it say, no, it's only applicable to 6 through 12 or whatever? I don't know.
So by law, the Disabilities Education Act law, we're required to provide services for students pre-K through age 22.
Okay, so, all right, interesting. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, thank you.
I'm done. Do I have a motion for the agreement?
Motion.
We had a motion second. So long ago.
It's all right. It's all right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Ross, financial report.
Good evening, President Scott, board members, Dr. Huff, and the community. I'm here to present our financial update for the month of July closing. All right, our first slide is our expenditures in the education fund. I'm going to highlight 3 funds: our education fund, operations, and rainy day. So let's start here. On this slide, you'll find the expenditures for the month of July. On average, we spend about $7 million a month on salary and wages out of this fund. You will see this is July, and our wages and benefits have trended down, but that's only because it's summer months and we're out of session. You can see we spent about 5.6 or so million in salary and wages this month for July. On the left, you'll see kind of a summary where we spend 97.6% of our fund on salary and benefits, as previously noted in previous presentations. And that percentage is higher than other educational institutions / industry standards. So a 10% decrease would move us to a much better position in this fund. And also, you can see our ending cash balance, I want to point out here, is 1.9 million. We would like to have at least a month's worth of expenditures in this fund. So 8, 9, 10 million would be more ideal to cover things that come our way, especially as we're heading towards the impact of SEA in 2026. Another note before moving on from this slide, we've spent over 60% of this fund. Last column there, we have 41% remaining in this fund. So that's another indicator we're running high in this fund.
Should be closer to 60%.
Right, the inverse would be better.
The inverse would be better. And then on the spending at 97% on salaries and benefits, a 10% reduction would get us closer to the 87, which is closer to the industry standard of 87 to 90, or?
Yeah, it's a little more aggressive because, you know, our cash balance is pretty low and we've got to build that up a little bit. So 87 might be a little below industry. You know, a lot of schools shoot for 90%, but we're just not in that predicament to shoot for 90%. Yeah.
This is actually my real co-presenter. She and I co-present often. One of the things I think people also need to know is that this is without ever making a transfer into the operation fund. We made a transfer of only $1 million. Most school districts typically take that 15% off the top and move it to the operations fund. We didn't do that as a school district. I don't think we've done that for a long time. Is that what you're finding as well?
Yes, at least for this year, we've made only 1 million of the 9 million slated in transfers to the operations fund. We have not been able to make that. So you'll see on the next coming slides how the operations fund is buckling to support this fund. Yeah, we're running high in this account, but we have taken some measures that we're going to talk about in a few more slides, what we're doing to kind of reverse this trend.
I also want to thank you for presenting the information in this way. This lets people really know what's happening in the various funds. I think the way that we previously presented information may not have always informed our community of what was exactly happening. I would like to see this next, as we go through, compare this to where we were last year. I know that there's some preliminary information show things are getting a little bit better based off some changes that we've instituted, but we have a lot of work to do to get it to where it needs to be. But I do want to say these things just don't magically appear. Somebody actually has to create them. So I just want to say thank you to you and your team for putting information like this.
Definitely.
And we emailed this information out to every staff member this week in my newsletter. I hope you looked at it, so that you can have this information, look at another time. And we will also send this out back through our posts. Wendy, another job is okay to give her another job, Doug?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll make sure that this gets sent out to our community in another way, in another aspect for those who don't look in the board packets. But go ahead.
Thank you.
My apologies. I should have asked the superintendent before I give you another job over there.
No, I told Wendy she should stop sitting right there. She should probably
Yeah.
sit in the back.
So to summarize our education fund and look at it at a different view here, this is our expenditures. These are our expenditures from January through July for 2025. What you see here, the green is our revenue for the month, that particular month. Red is our expenses in the bars, right? That blue line is our ending cash balance for that month in the education fund. Where we want to be, if you can see that red dotted line above the bars, we'd like to at least be there, that I mentioned, to cover at least a month and a half of expenditures. The red is where we'd like to be, that is the floor. And the green would be, we'd be doing much better. But if we could at least make it to the red first, yeah. So we got work to do in the education fund. Okay. Okay. So operations fund, similar format where you can see our expenses for the month and how it looks in terms of percentage on that pie graph on the left. On average, we spend about 1.7 million in salary and benefits out of this fund. You'll see salary and wages for July out of the operations fund also trended down as expected due to schools being out of session. A few things, and Dr. Huff, my co-presenter, as he called him, he self-named himself.
You see what happened when I don't protect with you? Okay. All right. So, well, since we're co-presenting, I think one of the things too that we have to say in there, and I think that Tony, your team has saved us actually a lot of money by the work that they've done in the middle schools as far as construction. This is going to show up here, but it's actually a savings. We did not bid these out. So how much money how much would they have charged us if we would have utilized outside construction companies to do that work?
So the last I looked, we'd spent about $64,000, a little over 2,000 man hours to perform the demolition and reinstallation of tile in the buildings. That is about 35% of what they would have charged. So our savings is in excess of $100,000 by using our own very capable people.
It looks like an increase in spending here, but technically it would have cost us money somewhere else.
It would, and we originally discussed the possibility of being able to reimburse ourselves through the bonds. So we've kept track of every hour, every dollar we've spent with our own people to pursue that option, which then would reduce the expenses out of this fund if we're able to continue forward and do that.
And that is being captured, the savings that we can present at a later date, like in a
yes,
some sort of
yes.
footnote or.
Payroll has tracked it every pay period so that we have the by employee, by hour that they've worked and the dollar amounts.
And corresponding what it saved us by.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Gines.
It'd be nice.
Okay, just to pick back up here on the operations fund, a couple things to point out. This fund is, like I said, buckling to support the education fund. It has not received its slated transfers from the education fund, which is allowed by the state, where we could transfer up to 15%. We've only made 1 million of the 9 million. With that said, also, you might want to recall back in about May, we transferred the balance of our operating referendum into the operations fund. So that's holding this fund up too. And look at our cash balance, 4.3 million, 3.5 of that, so to speak, was from that transfer. We would be much lower had we not made that transfer. So you can see, this fund is in a pretty, tight position. So with that being said, you all may recall, especially the public, that we have a GEO bond pending. So we have applied for the GEO bond. That's in process. We're hoping to get that in October. But we've got to say we're going into debt to hold up this fund, which then kind of holds up the education fund. It's not an ideal place to be. It's temporary, like a Band-Aid, but like I mentioned, we spend about 3.3 million a month out of this fund on average. You can see we only right now have only like a month in a couple weeks. So it's running on fumes. We're hoping that GEO bond, gets processed soon. We may have to transfer from a rainy day. That's just something we've got to, cross that bridge if we get there. But
point out, it also, in June, we received the property tax payment, so that bumped us up. But because of our spending and things that we're not, our trajectory is not the right trajectory.
yeah, thank you for that. Yeah,
From an overall standpoint, because that money should last us longer than it will.
Yep, exactly. And that's the next slide. It kind of shows us how we've done in this fund since January through July, month by month. You see that bump that Mrs. Van der Vellen just spoke of. In June, we get our property tax revenue. And then pretty soon, we're just going to start going straight down. We like to see a little more level line where you see that red dotted line. We'd like to be there to have at least a month and a little bit more of a cushion to cover expenditure. So about 5 million would be a more comfortable place in this fund, give or take that red dotted line. So, and the last fund I'd like to present in terms of these consolidated funds is our rainy day fund. We started the year at 7.9. We have had to make a transfer out of that fund to balance the education fund. I think that was in June to prevent it from going. It was negative, to put it back at zero, quite frankly. So our fund of last resort. So we got to protect this, as you know, as best we can. But this kind of illustrates all the funds are taking a hit to support the education fund. Next slide is just all these three funds we just spoke of, how it looks from January through July. The cash flow. Only thing I really want to point out here is, once again, that floor that we're, aspiring to. We would have 15, 16, 17 million in at the base floor, and, to be in a more stable position. You could see July. It looks like we're, doing good, but that's because of that operations bump that you spoke of when we got the property tax revenue. It's going to start sliding back down. And kind of to wrap up the cash flow, this is something we work with our partners, Policy Analytics. They help us look at historical data and help us project future cash flow. Here's the three funds we just talked about: education, operations, and rainy day. What I want to point out is, it's a lot to look at here, but for 2025, you can see we started with about a 14 million cash balance in all these funds. With our projected expenditures, we're going to have a deficit. We're going to be deficit spending this year. So everything we're doing is to decrease that deficit. So we're looking, and that's next slide, everything we're looking at to close the gap on that deficit. We haven't just accepted, yeah, we're going to go 10 million, we got to look at everything. So everything is on the table.
Or went from a $3 million deficit to a $9 million deficit. What happened during that time? Were there some big expenditure? And this year we bought curriculum at things that we typically wouldn't have done, like during this year. We bought curriculum. I think we paid for letters out of the education fund this year, if I'm mistaken. Is that accurate as well? I think we did out of the education fund. So those are things that we aren't going to have to pay for in the future, but there were some one-time things this year that we definitely had to, and I don't want to put you on, if you don't have an answer now, we can come back to the board.
On what it was for 2023?
I just think that's just a big jump from to overspend by $6 million in 1 year. Like from this year, looks like 2024 to 2025, it's like roughly a million and 1.3. But I know what's inside that 1.3, things that we won't have to do again.
Yes, I can. Strange echo. I can dig into that a little bit more. For sure. That did predate me a little bit, but I will definitely see what I can find for you. But
we became members of literacy cadre. We bought curriculum. We I'm trying to think, some letters was enough. Those are just all big ticket items that I know that we won't be doing again in next year's budget.
Okay.
Ron, I mean, throw you off your game. So,
That's
but
all
I just
right.
want,
No.
these things keep me up at night, but I want to make sure that people understand that we know what's happening inside these funds. I do not know what happened on those 2 years.
So prior to me even coming on board, savings initiatives were already underway, and I'm just citing a few that have, were already in the works, and some that, we have been working on. Curriculum, you see there, ending some contracts, negotiations, better pricing, administration and building level staff reductions. We've been assessing how many allocations we can have of added pays and extended contracts. It's just been kind of, as you've heard before, given, but we actually have to put a dollar amount on these numbers before they're approved. It was kind of backwards. They were approved before finance had a dollar amount on these added pays. So now it's like, we need the dollar amount. Can we afford it? Because we're trying to cut through that $10 million deficit. So everything's on the table.
We also had some other things too at play, like last year we had a compensation policy that paid subs at a very, I think, healthy rate. That also went into the education fund as well. We had some split pays that were pretty healthy as well. And all those things, overtime was just given out without any type of approval process. I don't think our internal controls are very strong. Now, I think that we do have things that are in place to make sure that these things don't happen again, or limit those things from happening again. Every contract goes in front of the board. I just think that this is, when you see my gray hair at the end of the school year, is because we're working to make sure that these things never happen for whoever sits in these arenas. I would not wish this on anybody. But I want to thank you for jumping in head first and making sure that you're a good financial stewards. And I think one of the things that people need to know is that you are definitely a rule follower and process oriented individual. Doug, you're laughing, but I'm telling the truth. And so I feel like we have the team to make sure that this is a year from now, there's going to be lots to celebrate. But it's just going to make sure we get through this year. But I appreciate all the things that we're
Appreciate that. And I'm glad you pointed that out, because me and my team and even cabinet, we're working on tighter internal controls. We just may not see the results of that at the end of this year.
We should see it monthly, though, a little bit.
We should start seeing it, soon, but, internal controls is a process, right? So we are working diligently on those. Okay. So that concludes my finance update.
Thank you. Insurance update.
Okay. Just have 2 slides for us here. Okay, our insurance plan update. We are a self-funded insurance plan. We collaborate with a number of partners to make this work. We work with Marathon, Sumis, we work with Gallagher very closely, and these partnerships have afforded us the 80.7% loss ratio we see. That's essentially the use of our premiums in terms of how much premiums are used to pay for our plan. So I have better wording for that. It's the percentage of premiums earned that are paid out in claims and related expenses. So we don't want to be at 100, 105. We don't want to spend more than we have in premiums. So this is a good metric for this month.
We want to see that number, though, anywhere from like 85 to 90%, correct?
The lower, really, the better.
Is it?
It is.
The lower the better?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was like at 40%, that means we're overfunded.
No, if our the loss ratio is lower, it means we're having a good year, a healthy year. We're not spending as much money as predicted on our.
Are we talking cash balance?
Yeah.
I think we're talking about cash balance of the fund.
Yeah, that's.
We're talking about. I'm currently talking about the loss ratio.
Okay. I think we're talking about
Yeah, I think
two
I'm
different
talking-
things.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cash balance of the fund
Yes.
is, it's if it's pre-funded, then yes. I mean, if we're closer to the predicted.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was trying to, I'm sorry
Right.
that, That's what I was trying to
expected. Yes.
Fair. And so I've added this slide so we can take a look at where we were last year at this month in July. On average, January through July, we were at a loss ratio of 1.5%. So now we're at 80%. So that's good. And at the bottom, you can see where 2024, how it trended and where we're at on 2025. So the fund is healthy at this point. And that concludes my insurance update.
Any questions regarding the financials and the insurance update from the board? Thank you. Dr. Huff.
I've spoken a lot tonight, sir. So, but I'm going to continue to always praise and up on our community. I want to say thank you to our transportation team for the hard work to start the school year. Remember, we reduced routes at the middle school down to a mile, which to roughly walk zones to a mile. Sorry, not transportation route, walk zones to a mile, which means we still have a lot of routes that, and they're doing an amazing job. Mr. Smith back there, he is taking the bulls by the horn, so to speak, over there. I just want to tell you thank you for all that you do and your team. I had a very interesting conversation with them this week. I just want to, they are seen and they are heard. So just want to tell you thank you to the transportation team. And they've been very flexible this year as we've been adding routes, as we've been registering students. So I just want to say thank you to the transportation team. Also, hats off to our teachers for starting. I think we had a pretty successful start up to the school year. Just for some of the things I've seen around the district, whether it's robotics at ETI. I saw some great photos of Mrs. Mix making jewelry in her classroom at the high school. The marching band did an awesome job at the beginning of the football game. Mrs. Miller, who's at Mary Daly, kids are doing body movements to learn more about some numeracy. Our teachers are very creative and innovative in making sure not only are kids engaged, but actually have really good outcomes and good experiences here. That does not happen without intentionality, without a purpose, and without I think the skill and the will of a teacher. So I just want to tell you, thank you for making sure that this school year get off to an amazing start for our kids. You do this every single day. And I just wanted to tell you, thank you. I do want to say it was a huge honor last week to go down to represent Elkhart at the State House and brag on our school district. It is nice to be number one in a category that means something to children. It means something to our teachers. It means something to our community. I know that's 80.7. I will wear that on a t-shirt everywhere I go out in the community, because to get there and triple the state's average, that does not just happen on its own. It happens with, again, the stories that are happening at Eastwood, the stories that are happening at Woodland, the intentionality has happened at Beardsley. Again, it's not just your school, Mr. Kavanaugh. It has to happen down at Beck for it to be your old school, right? We want to cheerlead and champion everyone. Mr. Bechtel, you said it best. I'm here to support my colleague. That is the type of leadership you need in order to be a great school district. And those teachers, even though she was scared to death to speak and forced me to do some things that was down there, Mr. Mayor, she's wonderful. These are the stories. It's not our scores. They need to know our people. Our people are wonderful people that we have in Elkhart. We're a very giving community, loving community, and all the things will be great for us because you know what? We're in it for the right reasons with your children. And so I just want to tell you, thank you for that opportunity to speak down there and to share our story. And I will share that story every single day until next year's scores will come out. And then when it's another 16%, they'll say we're cheating and then life is over. So we won't be doing that. And then I just want to just lastly share, I've been very intentional about the things that we've been sharing at our board meetings. I don't want anyone to say they do not know about our finances. They don't know about the conditions of our buildings, about the state of where we are as a district or where we're going as a school district as far as academically. I think academically, we are going to be the destination place for everybody in the North when it comes to outstanding outcome. I think we saw that today. No one else is doing the Natural History Day like we do here or the Colorado trips. We have other schools that join us for these things, correct? We're doing awesome things for kids and with teachers and with family. But SEA 1 is real. It is going to impact not just our district. If you are paying attention, you're seeing schools every night at these board meetings talking about their financial futures look different. The behaviors of their organization have to change on the dime. This summer took 4 days off, and I talked to y'all every single day at 1 a.m. where I was, and it was 6 because you know what? This stuff is important. We can't I don't control the laws. I didn't make any of these policies, but you know what? How we respond to them is up to us. I wish this was a normal start to a school year. It wasn't. There's still money. They said they were going to come to us and still hasn't gotten here yet. So how do you deal with that? Do you deal with it calmly? Do you deal with it proactively? Do you deal with it with a plan? Yes, all those things. Because again, kids are watching, adults are leading, and this is what we're paid to do. We're paid to lead out front. You can't run from center road. It is everywhere in our community. The mayor, I felt so sad. Sorry, Mr. Robbins, he had to give a speech where $30 million were being cut from his city right there. We're no different. We're down $5.8 million. You must do something different. We can't just continue to do the things that we've always done. What we've always done has got us here. So we have to make some dramatic changes to make sure that we are responsive. And I think that we're definitely on the road. But the first thing is to be informed. And to be informed is pay attention to what's happening at board meetings, read the information that comes out, and then go to a credible source. A credible source is, hey, I don't know what that was in the board packet. Can you explain that to me? Doug, can you explain to what this looks like? Dr. Roush, can you explain this to me? Social media is never going to give you a good explanation. It will give you confirmation of what you want to believe. So I will answer every email that has to do with this, and I look forward to presenting to every school about our financial and what our plans are, because I think it's not going to be it's going to be a team approach on how do we get out of here. So again, these aren't the conversations that I want to have, but this is a conversation I would hope you expect to have from your superintendent. And so I think this is where I earn my salt as a leader, and I'm looking forward to definitely engaging with our teachers, our custodians, our paraprofessional, anyone who touches the life of kids here, because I think they're not only old the story, but also, hey, what's our plan? How do we plan to turn the tide? According to Rhonda, I'm a terrible co-host, so I won't take her out on these excursions with me, but I will. I do think that we have the right people in place and the right people in the right seats. So again, there's going to be a lot of heartfelt decisions that are going to be made this year. Some that are not going to be very popular, and I'm not okay with that, but I think it's the right thing to do. So at our next board meeting, I would expect everyone to pay attention to what's going to happen at our next board meeting. Foreshadowing, I will come up to that podium and tell you what some of our plans are, but I don't want you to say you never were informed of what's happening in our school district. So that's it, Mr. Scott. I'm not speaking for the next 3 board meetings other than when I go up there.
Okay. Board.
Well, yes,
do we
I
have
want to, yeah, well, go ahead, Eric.
No, please go.
Okay, so I want to add on to that, and I want to speak from a place of pure humility. When I started this journey on the board, I inserted myself in many places that I did not belong for the good of what I thought was the school district and the children. Fortunately, I had Doug Thorne, who was able to give me a lot of guidance on where I belonged in a chain of command type situation. And it took a long time to realize that, like what Troy said, we have one employee and that's a superintendent, but in our heart, especially my heart, I want to believe that I'm there for every single one of you. And I've learned from different principals and mentors that are all over this room that there is a way that you go about things. And I know that when it affects you, your pay, your personality, your school, your whatever it is, you want to just get to the quickest fix possible. But we have a role and we have the right people put in place that before it ever comes here, we hope, and there's some situations that are still unresolved right now that they're hoping for resolution that sit in this room right now, that we hope that we can get to where we belong by following through the right course of action. And as a parent of children in this school district, I start with my teacher. If I don't have an answer from my teacher, I go to my principal. If I don't have a principal, I go to my director of education. If I don't go to my director of education, I land at my superintendent. If I can't get through to my superintendent, I land with my board. We can't make the positive impact in our community if we don't search out the right conversations. Coming straight to the board might feel very validating and important, but if we can't meet somewhere in the middle, we can't get to where we need to be for not only our community today, but our community in the future. So I know that it seems this is the greatest place to go, or even some of you coming to us for answers and we just leave blanket, but there is a natural rule of order for us to have the greatest success in our school system. So we need to kind of like land in that lens, and know that that's how we're going to get to where we need to be, because this is a great school system and it's had its ebbs and flows of sorrow and pain, but we're going to rise up above that. Now, in saying that, back there is Woodland, which I want to say to Jeremy, I thought that was such an amazing thing for you to call out, like the success of your peer, because that is the one change that I have noticed in the past 2 years that has begun to happen under different leadership. We are no longer elementary schools swimming on our own and trying to like make our own work. We are starting to support each other. And I see it when I pop into the different school systems. It is a lot different conversation with our vice principals and our principals now that are meeting together. That's our foundation. That's our soul of our school system. And watching our principals work together and praise each other is what's going to make a great difference. Now, I decided that I wanted to name a moment of this school board meeting my own, and I wanted to call it Kelly's Corner. And it's where I take like a different group and I celebrate them. So I popped into different schools and I realized that even though they have their own day and we celebrate them, our secretaries, we have definitely forgotten how hard they work. So going into the school system and seeing children popping in at the last minute to get registered, like nobody knowing exactly where they're supposed to be. There was a child at a school that wasn't even supposed to be there. And there is like busing and people running late and everything. Here are these group of secretaries, starting with our own two right here at this superintendent's office, who field things like you cannot believe that they need to be applauded. Our secretaries need to hear this recording. You are the most amazing human beings I have ever seen running a school district, especially at the beginning of the year. So when we're like ending a school board meeting, I want to find a group of people that we talk about. And today it is our secretaries. So from you two to also the front of our building here at the school system, but in every one of our buildings, what you did to make the school year run, I say applaud, 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 and shout out to our secretaries. So that is the conclusion of Kelly's Corner for this meeting. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Just for clarification
I
on
don't
Kelly's
want
Corner,
any-
it's a corner spelled with a K? Are we for the agenda?
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
my, you
marketing.
know what? Everything I do has a K, but just, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yes,
I got it right
yes.
here. Okay,
Kelly's Corner, please spell that correctly, Dora.
I got it.
I will put a little badge on in 2 weeks, yes.
Kelly, that was very well said. So
Thank you.
It
I
really-
might allow you to join me in my corner if things go well.
I would be honored. I'd be honored. But I kind of wanted to say, kind of echo what you mentioned. There was a lot of things shared tonight that had some passion. Some folks spoke with some passion. Dr. Huff, you responded with some passion. And that's okay, because we are passionate people doing passionate work. And I appreciate that. I also want to say that I firmly believe that although we're dealing with some challenging times, finances and things like that, I firmly believe we have a leader that can help us navigate those things, but doing it from a space that, sometimes reality isn't pretty, but it's always real. And I think that we are really looking at some real situations that we have to attack. And I'm confident and I am comfortable with the leader that's helping us navigate through that. And I just wanted to share that because everything we do is with intentionality. And I think, it's a collective lift. And I appreciate the things that are said from the public. I appreciate the team that we are working together to kind of right size to ship as best we can. So I wanted to share that this evening, but you said it much better.
I always will. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I am kidding. Also go Wildcats. Just saying back there. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Eric. That's so true.
I think discourse is paramount in a society that is often lacking of discourse. We are watching a world literally where people don't talk to one another and they just make up their own assumptions. I think the beauty about school is we not only have to talk to each other, we're better when we do talk to one another. And so if there's something that needs for communication to be improved, okay, we will do that. I think that's a two-way street though. I also think one of the things that we owe each other, and that's something that I've talked to my team about, is how do we make sure that we are celebrating the things that are happening in our school district? Because no one else will do it but us. We are in the most competitive world when it comes towards education. Kids have limitless choices now when it comes to school. There's no reason why Elkhart shouldn't be getting all of them. And if children were watching, I would wonder. But you know what? Kids are going to come here tomorrow and they're going to say, you know what? In front of the teachers, because you know what? The teachers are the best public relations for our kids because they do a billion different things for them. No kid is ever going to say, man, I stayed in that school district because I had the greatest superintendent in the world. Not one. I've never heard that phrase. But he or she
Or
can.
school board.
Nah, well, look, but I do think the things that we owe people are consistent communication, to be as honest as possible, and also when in the conversation is tough, treat them with dignity, treat them with respect and value, but care for them enough to say, hey, this is the actual truth, not a filtered version of the truth. I can't look at these numbers and say, hey, that they're not, that they are what they are. My skill is what we do with them. And so I just want to say, I believe discourse is healthy. I believe discourse is honorable. I believe discourse is seeing the humanity in an individual. It's when you say, I'm not talking to them, and you make up narratives about him or her, not like that's ever been happened to me before in my life. I think that's where we lose a lot of our humanity, and I do not want to go that direction. But Elkhart's a great place. Let's continue to make it a great place for kids and a great place for people by having these type of discourses. So again, I just want to tell you thanks for the opportunity and for the teachers to allow me to actually chime in on those 3 minutes. That says a lot about them too, because they didn't have to. So just want to say thanks.
Anything else from the board?
Yeah.
I'll just finish it quickly. We heard a lot of passion tonight. We also heard a lot of great things about being downstate. If anyone forgot, why we do it, why I ran to be on this board, is the kids tonight, when the smiles they had on their face, when they were leaning in to an uncomfortable situation, leaning into education, and they're smiling. And I won't forget, I'm not very social, but after this trip, I'm social now, and I like to talk to a lot of people. And when she held up the buttons, she had to speak with 50 or 60 people to get those. Guys, that's why we do it. All of us, whether we're an educator, staff, board member, it's moments like that that bring me back to say, this is why we do it. We can make a difference, all of us collectively. And I think this is the right team in the right district to make a difference in their life. So great job by everybody. And with that said, meeting adjourned.